Hello. All right, perfect. There's my mic bar. That's what I want to see. Um, Welcome back, everybody. Uh, one second. Just have a couple housekeeping items to take care of. All right. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back. I know I wasn't here last week. I it's a little busy. Last week wasn't a good week for me to stream. There was a bit of a work issue last week in my personal and work life, and that's not gonna lie, it was a bad week for me. I didn't want to bring that negative energy into stream, and I wasn't sure I was gonna be able to do a stream last week. So I just kind of took a break, and now I'm back. And we left off. We didn't quite finish Beacon Pines the last time, so we're gonna try and finish it off today. We left off around chapter 5, I think, is where we were. So we're just gonna not bring any
Chapter
negative energy.
5.
Oh, all right, chapter 5. We're not gonna bring any of that negative energy into the stream today. We're gonna have a great time. We're gonna try and beat Beacon Pines in the next 4 hours. Make that a goal. And let's start. We left off here at chapter 5. So we're on the left side. Let me show. Can I show you? I can't yet. Okay. We're on the left side of the branch. Rollo is alive. We're exploring this side. Maybe we go back to the side where Rollo is taken. But Rollo is around town and whatnot doing his stuff. So here we go. Chapter 5. And I apologize in advance. My voices don't match up from the last 2 weeks because I don't remember what I did. Let's just have fun, right? That's what we're here for. Chapter 5. Let's go.
What big ears you have.
That's not ominous at all.
Lucas sat shivering in the bushes, staring at his feet. After checking to make sure the coast was clear, Beck gave him a gentle tug on his sweater.
What's wrong? Nothing. Doesn't say anything. You look like you've seen a ghost. What were you so scared of? That old lady in the hazmat suit? Or why were you so scared of that old lady in the hazmat suit? That was my gran. That's right. Remember? She was here. We saw her. That was your gran? Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm sure there's a perfectly reasonable explanation for all this. Let's get to the treehouse and figure things out. Lead the way. Meet up with Roll with Treehouse. Alright, let's go. Now I remember playing this game. This game's fantastic. It's been a couple weeks. Let's see if I can remember how to get to the treehouse, because I do remember I kept getting lost, but that's okay. We're all here to have fun, right? Treehouse, treehouse.
The Valentine mansion loomed over every other building in town, both figuratively and literally.
Okay, because we came from the right? This is where Beck's house is? Yeah, and then we had the thunder, and we're like, oh no, it's clearing. It's not going to break and rain on us. And that's when we saw all this information, and now we're heading to the treehouse.
After the foul harvest destroyed their wealth and reputation, the Valentines shuttered off their estate from the rest of town.
Right, in the foul harvest. I'm trying to figure that out. I have my own theories. I don't want to say it in case it ruins the game for you guys, but I have lots of theories. Okay, treehouse. Not that way. That's the way to the electric fence. Once again. The last time, there's nothing to worry about. Of course not. We're not worried.
The clipboard finished writing with a scratchy flourish and looked up.
Just dotting our I's and crossing our T's. Well, maybe try minding your P's and Q's.
Mr. Nuncreed, arms crossed over his paunch, gave an exhausted sigh.
If there's anything you need knowing, you'll know it. Absolutely. If I just sign here, acknowledging everything is accurate, we'll be out of your hair in a flash. Oh, for the love of...
He snatched the pad and scribbled his name so hard the pen nearly snapped.
There. Would you like my eternal soul as well?
The clipboards looked at each other for a moment, almost pondering the possibility,
That's not creepy at all.
then broke into laughter as they walked away.
Now, what's fascinating is that because we, the narrator-ish, perspective person, I guess, omnipotent perspective person, whatever you want to call it, we know that he's a bad guy. We know that that telephone booth is an access to an underground hatch or something, right? But as the character, we don't know that necessarily because we keep redoing paths, right? So, fascinating how this is playing out, how we know things, but other characters don't necessarily know we know things. Hi, Mr. Nuncreed. Luca, let me give you some advice. The next time someone you don't know asks to hear your thoughts, give him a good hard bop, right in the kisser. Oh, Grant tells me to just keep away from the clipboards. That's good. That's good. Your Gran is a smart lady, Luca. Speaking of which, you better run along home now. Too dark out to be wandering on your own. What if I don't want to go home? I want to go to the treehouse. Which is this way? Yeah, it's this way. But you know what? It's nighttime, right? Yeah, no one's here. Where's our bat friend? She's up this way, isn't she? Yeah. I wonder if she's at her stall. Nope. Look at that. She's going to be out reporting. Cool. Alright, no one's here. Let's head back down here. See what the people are up to. And has this person gotten any farther in their book? The answers you seek will be revealed to you in due time. The question is, the figure intoned, are you prepared to live with the truth? Interesting book they're reading. Can we talk to you guys? Another day, another dollar. See you tomorrow, Z. Have you noticed how the Perennial Harvest folks order the same drink? Decaf cappuccino with extra foam? Why? I don't know. Just thought it was a little odd. Pretty weird for sure. Or how's that voice? I don't know, I can't keep track. Well, the customer's always right. See you bright and early tomorrow. So, I can't wait. Maybe that was a clipboard voice? I don't know, I can't keep track. That's okay. Okay. What are these two guys doing here? To the treehouse, maybe?
William Kerr and Gus Valentine proudly surveyed the half-covered festival banner.
All coming together quite nicely. Couldn't have done it without you.
The mayor gave a half-hearted shrug.
I'm just not so sure about that. Nonsense. That reminds me, I wasn't able to thank your sister for her contributions. Yeah, she has become indisposed of late. Doesn't much like me, does she? Nobody likes you. Oh no, that's not at all. She's just been busy. Of course. Regardless, I would be forever grateful if you could pass my thanks on to her. The History Museum adds a real air of import to the whole affair. And we couldn't very well celebrate the story of Beacon Pines without including the Valentines. My father was a great man. You're darn tootin' he was.
Kerr lopped his arm on Gus's shoulder.
But I mean the entire Valentine family. Present company included. Can I ask you a question, Mr. Kerr? Call me William. Ask away. William, why are you... William, why are you doing all of this? Gosh, I never felt one need a compelling reason to throw a party. Not just the festival. All of this. There's gonna be 100 down on their luck towns out there. Why is Perennial Harvest so invested in helping Beacon Pines? You know what I love most about the agriculture business? Seeds. I feel like it's a really creepy answer. Seeds? Yeah, little bundles of potential.
With a glimmer in his eye, Kurt gestured grandly toward the horizon.
Yeah, they don't like that. Combined with the Dark Harvest, it's really creepy. You treat a seed right, nurture it, feed it, and it can grow into something truly special. You see potential here? Undoubtedly. The seed of greatness is great already under our feet. All it needs is a little nudge. And the right leadership, of course. Oh. Good night, Mayor Valentine. So I don't quite think he was just talking about seeds. There's something else going on here. Oh, we still haven't been in that building. That Perennial Harvest building. This whole game's creepy. Can't talk to him again. Okay. Treehouse is this way. Oh, this is nice. Yeah, the treehouse is just a little further on from here. So what's your buddy Rollo like? Rollo? He's... Rollo. Not particularly helpful. Sorry, I've just never thought about it. Lots of energy. He's funny, even when he's not trying to be. Things have been tough for his family since the Foul Harvest. It's about damn time to tell you what this Foul Harvest thingy is. It's kind of a long story. Hit me with the highlights. Okay. There used to be a fertilizer company here called Valentine's. Ooh, we're getting story. I like this. They were kind of a big deal. Ooh, big deal fertilizer. It was a big deal to us. Their stuff really worked. Farmers loved it. So Valentine grew and grew. Beacon Pines pretty much grew around it. Most everyone in town either worked for Sharper Valentine or used his fertilizer. Things were good. I'm sensing a big but. Around 6 years ago, Sharper Valentine suddenly died. Wasn't that around the same time his dad went missing? Was it 6 years? And something changed. Changed? How? Could have been a bad batch. Maybe it was in the water, or air, or soil. Nobody knows. But all the crops died. And everyone blamed the Valentines. The Foul Harvest. Yep. Yeah. Valentine's fertilizer went out of business. Half the town lost their jobs. Yeesh. The next year the crops came back, but something was different. You plant a crop, you do everything right, and it's sort of a crapshoot what happens. That's very true. Crops, you can do everything right, you can plant everything, you can have best weather, but sometimes the seeds just won't grow and you're in trouble. It's like gambling almost. It's a tough way of living. And no one knows why? Nope. I take it Rollo's farm got the short end of the stick. Yep, for some reason, her farm was hit harder than others. That sucks. It really does. It really, really does. Things have gotten better since Perennial Harvest came to town. Beacon Pines Reborn Initiative? Yep. First thing they did was give the town a deep scrub. They even put us up in hotels, one town over for a week. Well, they decontaminated the groundwater. That... kind of spooky. We better get going. Decontaminated the town water. That's really creepy. Here we are, Treehouse and Rollo. It's about time. I was about to give up and go home. Who's the new kid? Name's Beck. You must be Rollo. I see my reputation precedes me. Welcome to Mission Control.
Rollo waggled his head with pride.
You'll find we spared no expense in construction. I've seen worse looking piles of junk. Thanks. I don't know if that was a compliment or not. Either way, we're here. Hey, Luca, you know the security concerns we talked about? Yeah. Well, I was waiting. I made some improvements. Uh-oh. So it's gonna be bad. Let me lock this baby down for a little test infiltration. That's gonna be bad. Can't be too safe these days. What's he up to? It slowly rolls up the window. He goes all out, doesn't he? Always. Are we supposed to hit that or something? Or are we just... Oh, here we go. Oh, yeah, okay, I see. Gotta throw junk again. Whoops, that was definitely a miss. Got it. Oh, now it's moving. This is gonna be fun. Is it all just cans in here? I guess something interesting. Oh, it's all just cans. Okay. Moving target. Whoops. A little bit closer. Got it. Where did you guys get all the junk in the first place? There's a guy in town named Jeff who trades us junk for snacks. Junk food for junk. It's a fair trade, I would say. Nice. So, pretty sweet security, right? He was imaginative, I'll give you that. Luca, are we sure we can trust the new recruit? I'll vouch for her. Thanks, I guess. Oh, Luca, you promised to fill me in on the Valentine warehouse.
Luca sucked in a long breath.
So like I said, there was someone there. What were they doing? I don't know, but the place was lit up and active. Maybe they were squatters? I don't think so. It seemed more organized. When the man pulled me in, I saw some sort of equipment running. A man pulled you in? Yeah, but I got away. You keep saying it was a man. Oh, that's a good point. They were in a suit, weren't they? We don't know who they were. They were wearing a mask, right? then it could have been a woman. How'd you get away? Grabbed a rock or something and broke their mask. Or they actually are aliens. Going back to that theory from the first run through. They let me go, like, they let go when I ran. Dang. That's intense. No wonder you freaked out when you saw your grandma. Yeah, that's the other part. On our way here, Beck and I saw Eris Valentine meeting with Gran, wearing the same sort of hazmat suit.
Rollo let out a low whistle.
Man, the mystery, the plot. And they weren't there for idle chit-chat. It was like a proper clandestine meetup. Let me get this straight. There's an operation in full swing at the Valentine warehouse. You were almost abducted by a strange man or woman in a protective suit. And then you saw your Gran in the same suit talking to Eris Valentine? Pretty much. I'm beginning to think this town is kind of awesome.
Rollo and Luca shot back a look.
Oh, it's full of mystery and adventure, that's for sure. No offense. And so we can logically conclude aliens or alien zombies have infiltrated the town. Here we go again. Aliens. If it's actually going to be aliens or alien zombies, it's yeah, that's just going to be one of the weirdest setups of all time. But anyway, may not see it coming. We'll see. And their leader is your Gran, and she tried to murder you. First of all, for the last time, there are no aliens. Thank you. Second, it couldn't have been my Gran at the warehouse. I broke that person's mask to get away. The mask Gran was wearing wasn't damaged. Ah, that's another good point. But she's definitely hiding something. Maybe. Your Gran is weird, but she might be the most boring person in the universe. All she does is sit around all day making jam. That's another thing. I don't think it's jam. I think it's something else. What could she possibly have to hide? I don't know. We haven't talked much since she moved in. Moved in? Your Gran isn't from here? That's a good point. She's not. No, she came a few months back to take care of me after his mom went missing. Did you know your Gran before? Oh, I didn't even think of that. What if it's not actually his Gran? His parents are gone, right? Oh, that's spooky. That's really spooky. Not really. No. Nah. Well, I mean, it's pretty good we're playing this before Halloween, right? Finishing it up. Man. Spooky, spooky. It's been years since I've seen her. Luca, don't take this the wrong way. But are we sure your Gran is on the up and up?
Luca gazed out the window.
That's a very valid question. Very valid. I'm just saying. It sounds like strange stuff has been happening since she showed up. We could say the same thing about your family. Ooh. Ooh. But you're right. Look at your Gran is hiding something. And Pa always says, folks only bury stuff worth digging up. We need to investigate your house. My Gran really is hiding something. Don't you think I would have noticed by now? That's kind of the whole point of hiding something. I guess you're right. Gran's been leaving the house for hours at a time this week. I'll call you two tomorrow when the coast is clear. Then we can start getting to the bottom of this. I'm almost a game for a good snoop. You can count me in. Oh boy, that's a lot to unpack there.
Chapter 6.
Chapter 6. All right. People may not be the people who they say they are. Let's see where this takes us.
Secret Lair.
Okay, secret layer is spelled Layer, like a layer of like something hidden there, instead of like secret layer, Lair, like a hidden hideout. So I don't know. This game's getting weirder and weirder. Let's see.
Summer forged ahead, but the nights only seemed to grow colder. Luca walked home slowly under the pale starlight, cautious to avoid any more surprises lurking in the shadows. Reaching home, he slipped quietly into bed, half dreading what they might discover the next day.
What time is it? Anything here new I can look at? Yes, I'm coming. I can hear you at the door. Let me just quickly check. I know I'm coming. Okay. What is it? Can't check it anyways, can I? No. Okay. Let's go to the door. Man, they're impatient. Rolo, what on earth is that? Was that a detective hat, Sherlock Holmes hat? Hmm? That ridiculous thing on your head. Oh, this? It helps me think. You're gonna need a lot more of those. Joke all you want. We'll see who's laughing when I crack this case wide open. The coast is clear. Yeah, whatever she's been up to all week. It's been keeping her busy most of the day. Very well. The game is afoot.
Luca and Beck rolled their eyes as Rollo strutted across the room.
If I were a Gran, where would I hide my deepest, darkest secrets? Perhaps where you might least expect it.
Rollo flung open the cabinet with confidence. He
Aha.
coughed as a veil of dust hit his face.
Yeah. I think it's safe to assume anything that dusty isn't what we're looking for. Maybe that's what she wants you to think. Oh, Rollo. Then again, any good detective knows not to trust their first hunch. First hunches are for suckers. Eureka! She's lit a fire in order to burn the evidence. She keeps that fire going every day, Rollo. Drat! May already be too late. Just think of the mounds of documents lost to ash. Yeah, I don't think that's right, Rollo. I'm just a little paranoid. Okay. I'm gonna stop you right there. Can we just think for a moment? Luca, is there anywhere Gran doesn't want you to go? Her bedroom? No, it's not her bedroom. It's her, like, side door room. We can't get in there. Yeah. The closet upstairs. There, that's what it is. So maybe it stands to reason that we should check there first. No dice. It's locked. Well, well, well. Look who stands to reason now. And I have no idea where the key is. If it really is important, then she probably keeps it with her. That's a good point. Anywhere else? Just for berry bushes. Oh, you're right. Who has ever thought, I'm going to take this important thing and huck it into a bush? True. Anything else? Maybe something out of the ordinary? Well, she is always worried I'll break her fancy dishware in the kitchen. But it doesn't matter anyway. I can't reach the latch.
A look of realization crept onto Luca's face. All three kids snapped to glance at each other, then sprinted in turn toward the kitchen.
Alright, Rolo. This is your time to shine. Oh, yes. You called upon my expert detective skills. And now I shall proceed with...
Before he could finish, Luca scrambled up Rolo's back.
Hey, this isn't my detective work. Every squad needs a good lockpick. And every good lockpick needs a sturdy head to sit on. This is beneath my standing. Stop complaining and hold still. Got it.
The three crowded around the hutch to peer in. With the glass doors opened, a perfect porcelain display gleamed in front of them. Their eyes searched for anything amiss. But the only distinct feature was its impeccability.
Well, that was anticlimactic. Yeah. I don't really know what we were expecting. Like, oh hey, let me just yank on this random teacup and...
As Beck pulled on one of the teacups, it slanted forward with a hollow click.
Of course, it's a hidden passageway. Grandma's Batman. She's got a whole bat cave under the house.
The entire hutch began to rustle and slide under its own power.
Seems like a Gran has been doing some remodeling. Okay, another thing to think about, we haven't seen pictures of Luca's parents, have we? And his Gran, like, I understand the whole game isn't really realistic, but his Gran is so wildly variant in species than what Luca is. Luca looks like a deer almost, that we really don't know who she is or what she's doing. Really is spooky. Dude, only 2 types of people have secret layers. Evil masterminds and superheroes. That's what I said. Gran's Batman. So, which one do we think she is? I don't think she's a superhero. I'm leaning towards the evil mastermind. We're about to find out. Oh boy. Okay, it's more of an unhinged conspiracist vibe. Oh, wow. Yeah, this cannot be good. We need to look around before jumping to conclusions. Alright, let's get some more medals. Charms, whatever we would call them.
Luca jostled each cabinet drawer in turn. Only one was unlocked. He fingered through the filing cabinet, pausing at a bulging folder labeled Walter. For a long moment, he just stared at it.
Is that his dad? What do you got there? It's my dad. It is his dad. Oh, here we go. Answers. Looks like some of his old medical files. Your dad was a doctor?
Luca nodded and caressed the label with his thumb.
He was a doctor. Ooh, the plot thickens. Well, are you gonna read it? Here, let me help.
Rollo swiped the folder from the drawer and began leafing through the pages. He whistled to himself, barely looking at the text.
How about you actually read some of it? One sec. Dance documents such as these are a lot like a cheeseburger. What? It's best to skip straight to the middle. Okay, he's got a point. That's where all the meaty bits live. Wow, I had no idea we were in the presence of presence of the preeminent scholar in dense documents. And cheeseburgers. By all means, proceed.
He stopped at a page and mimed, holding up a monocle.
Ah, here we are. Follow-up examination of Terence Wilby. Patient shows further signs of paleness and malaise. Body temperature continues to drop. He now describes soreness of muscles and joints. This is similar to the symptoms exhibited by Mrs. Wilby just a few days past. Still waiting on lab results from Joseph.
Rollo looked up with heightened surprise.
See? Creepy. Yeah, that's kind of disturbing. Who's Joseph? That's Mr. Nuncreed's name. Oh. Oh. Wasn't he one of the ones Gran was delivering jam to? I feel like that's someone. Wait,
Rollo's finger traced across the page.
there's more scribbled in the margins. Could it be contagious? Mr. Wilby claims the tap water at his home has been contaminated. Didn't I just say that like they shipped him out of town to do decontamination or whatever, and that's what was triggered by the foul harvest or something like that? Man, there's so much going on right now. This game's nuts. Perhaps environmental? Lab results only raise more questions. It's like he came back to this report later and made those notes. So it might be related to something else.
Rollo scanned through several more pages.
Here, the writing looks shaky. I just couldn't help her. This disease or whatever it is progresses so fast. And with his wife passing, Terrence's condition follows close behind. Exasperated by the loss, enough is enough. I need to take matters into my own hands.
Luca, staring blankly at the cabinet this whole time, spoke softly.
What does it say next?
Rollo rustled the folder, trying to loose more pages.
That's where it ends. Oh. What? There has to be more.
Luca frantically shoved the remaining cabinet folders, trying to find another labeled Walter.
Luca, I think that's the only one. Alphabetical, see? What did he mean enough is enough? How did he take matters into his own hands? Whoa, was this right before his dad went missing? Well, that's a bad word. I'm not going to say that. This is bad. You know, he's very bad. Don't read that. Don't repeat it. Bad word.
Luca slammed the drawer shut.
Man, that's rough.
A spider web of string connected photos of people from the town, interspersed with hastily scrawled notes.
Well, she sure has kept herself busy. Is your gran a serial killer? 'Cause I'm starting to get a vibe. That's a valid point. Conspiracy theories. Yeah. Don't be ridiculous. Sure, she's just tracking the movements of everyone in town. Out of the kindness of her heart. She put little symbols by some of them. Yeah, Mr. Nuncreed has a check mark. The clipboards are all inside a big circle. My mums are both on there. I mean, you're new to town. Both with question marks. Gus Valentine has a question mark. Eris has a question mark that's been crossed out. Mr. Care has a bullseye. The killer has chosen her next victim. It's Rollo. We don't know what any of this means. Whatever it means, it's probably not good. Take out some stress. Hit the bag. Speed bag. Stress. Leaving the body. Alright, I think that's enough. What's this? What do we have here? Barrels marked caution, explosive. And jam jars? She wasn't sending out jam. It was something that... Wait, why would you... I have so many questions for Gran. If she is, like, giving explosives to townspeople, first of all, why is she giving explosives to the townspeople? And if it's very explosive, why did she give it to her grandchild? You know, quote-unquote grandchild. To deliver. Like, all it would have done is, like, trip and kaboom. No more grandchild. But, I mean... If she's not really his grandchild, her grandchild, then... Who knows? I'm just grasping at straws here. That's enough jam to feed the whole town. What kind of incendiary jam is your gran making? That's what I said. Incendiary! There we go. We got another one. Okay, we got a charm. Cool. She wouldn't have had me walking around town delivering bombs. Right? That's what I'm questioning. What is Gran really up to? Only one way to find out.
Rollo casually spun open a lid and dipped his finger in the jam.
Uh-oh. Huckleberries.
He smacked his lips.
And a hint of brown sugar. And... ink? What?
Rollo plunged his hand in the jar, fishing out a soggy slip of paper.
It was secret messages. She was sending secret messages. Okay. Secret messages. Very cool. Aha!
Rollo offered the slimy note to Luca and licked his fingers clean.
It's addressed to Mrs. Fratelli. Miss Fratelli, sorry. A grand jamgram? It says, last night I used the disguise Eris provided to scout the location. The timing window should be possible. Operation Sparkplug is a go. Oh man, are they doing a heist? Whatever it is, it can't be good. Some more bombshell than a bomb, am I right? You're new here, so we'll let that slide. But I'm the bad joke guy around here. Interesting. Very interesting.
They crowded around a worn-down old map of Beacon Pines.
Cool. This looks like a treasure map. Not every old map is a treasure map, Rollo. Yeah, but every treasure map is an old map. It's a good point. Can't fault that logic. Or can't fault that logic. Yeah, hard time getting my voices here. Look, there's even a pathway drawn on it. Starts at the entrance to town. And if we follow it...
Rollo carefully traced the path with his finger.
It leads right to...
He jabbed down at the end point.
Town Square? That's the fountain in the middle of town. What a weird place to hide treasure. Roll, that doesn't look like treasure to me. The end of the path on that map has the same symbol as those explosives over there. Are they gonna explode, like blow up the entire town to cover up their evil experiments? Is that what the end game here is? Or are they trying to poison the town with the fountain water? Because they shut down the town, right? They shipped everyone out of town. So who knows what they could have done in those days that they had the town closed. This is crazy. So, it's not hiding treasure? A real bummer. Rollo, what's the thing you've been excited for the past month? The festival. Gulp. Did you just say gulp? This feels like a gulp kind of situation. Everyone will be gathered in the center of town. Yeah. She's gonna blow up the festival. Not if we stop her. Uh, what was that?
Luca looked up from the map.
What was what? No, I heard it too. Yeah, the sound upstairs, right? That was the front door. Which means someone just shut the door. Which means someone's upstairs. Shh. Hit the lights.
Beck flicked off the light, and they became statues in the dark.
Oh, here we go. More spookiness. It's another ending? We'll see.
Overhead, creaking floorboards bent under slow, deliberate steps.
Did they close the passage when they went downstairs? Did it close automatically behind them, or did it stay open? More questions I don't have answers to.
The kids looked up, the tilt of their necks following each footfall. Then suddenly, it stopped.
They're still there, though, aren't they?
Without realizing, they'd been holding their breath. All three exhaled shakily and glanced at each other. A muffled male voice broke the silence.
Hello?
A final few footsteps reached the entrance above them, and the voice now echoed down the stairs.
Anyone down there?
The three kids shuffled to the corners without a peep.
Well, that's Mr. The guy at the fruit stack, isn't it? You can see the outline of his glasses and his tail.
As he began to descend the stairs, the man's voice punctuated every new step. Thump,
Yahoo!
thump,
I'm not here to hurt anyone.
thump,
I'm just here to help.
thump,
Just...
thump. At the bottom step, the man paused, squinting to search the room for signs of life.
Huh. Guess it's nothing.
Rollo shifted suddenly.
Uh-oh.
Luca gave him an intense, chastising look and whispered through clenched teeth.
Jones.
It was too late.
Oh, no.
Rollo was already inching toward the stairway. He screeched as he charged toward the shadowy figure.
Flaming chicken coop! Of course. That's what he yells.
With all his weight, Rollo tackled the man to the ground.
Rollo? Mysterious creepy man? Anyone there?
From the dark corner, they saw something move.
Well, I don't know if I had it in me. I didn't know if I had it in me. But there's only one way to find out. Holy crap, Rollo, that was awesome. Wait, did you just kill that person?
Luca scrambled to the hunched figure on the ground. Pressing his fingers to the man's neck, he sighed with relief.
You sure clobbered him good, Rollo. He's knocked out cold.
As Beck flicked back on the light, Luca and Rollo both gasped in stereo.
Mr. Tolliver. Yeah, he's a squirrel guy. Oh,
Chapter 7.
Chapter 7.
The Interrogation of Hiram Tolliver.
Oh, no. Oh, no, this is going to be interesting.
Still unconscious, Mr. Tolliver slumped heavily in a shoddy old chair. His hands were bound with rope, his feet tied with some loose string. The kids huddled in a circle, discussing their plan. One thing was certain: they couldn't just let Mr. Tolliver go. They needed to know what he was doing in Luca's house. After some deliberation, it was decided.
Uh-oh. They'd run the good cop, something cop interrogation. Here we go. Another point. What do I have? Oh, I only have chill. Good cop, chill cop. I don't know how good that's gonna work, but I guess we're using chill. I don't have bad or like angry or anything like that. Good cop, chill cop. All right.
They'd run the classic good cop, chill cop interrogation.
Why not incendiary cop? I'll handle this. Just play it cool.
Luca walked calmly to the light switch, flicking it off and on a few times. Mr. Tolliver shook his head, gathering his wits.
Golly, I sure got my bell wrong.
He looked over to find Luca, who returned a calming grin.
Sorry, Mr. Tolliver. This is all a big mistake. Luca, what's going on here? Why do you have me strapped down? No one's fault, really. Rollo just got a little startled. Rollo's here?
Rollo and Beck emerged from hiding to give a timid wave.
Well, alright. Mistakes happen. You kids gave old Hiram a good scare. Let's just get me out of these ropes and call it even.
Luca glanced over to Rollo and Beck, who replied with skeptical looks.
Mr. Tolliver, why are you in my Grand's basement? I'm here to help, of course. Help with what? What's my Gran up to? They just caught me loose, I can show you. How do I know we can trust you?
Mr. Tolliver exhaled with disappointment.
Luca, have I ever done you wrong? Or done wrong by you? No. And since your Gran moved to town, haven't I been nothing but welcoming? Yeah. So why would I turn my back on her family now? It's just... all this stuff seems pretty weird. A board of the names of people from town? An archive of my dad's old disturbing patient notes?
Luca gestured to the corner.
Barrels of explosives? I can explain everything. You just need to untie me. You kids deserve an explanation.
Luca looked again to Rollo and Beck. This time they shrugged. Luca began to slowly loosen the bindings. Mr. Tolliver gently rubbed his wrists.
That's a good lad. This all makes sense in time.
He edged imperceptibly toward the stairs as he spoke.
Oh no. Is he really a bad guy? Is he gonna run away? You see, this town has secrets, Luca. A very dark past, indeed. You can see him inching towards the stairs.
Before the kids had even noticed his movement, Mr. Tolliver was at the light switch.
Yeah. A past that must be brought to.
He punctuated his final words by flicking the switch and rushing up the stairs.
Right. Son of a...
Beck darted to the wall and turned back on the lights. It was too late. Rollo confirmed what they all heard.
He just locked us down here. Dedicated bug, yes. Hi. That's the person you gave jam to. Yes, that is, isn't it? That's Mr. Tolliver, because we gave jam to the guy at the pharmacy who ended up trying to betray us and sticking us in a phone booth. Now Mr. Tolliver, who also betrayed us. And then, who's the third person? Right, the lady at the grocery store. But Are they all bad guys? Or are they just trying to protect their own secrets? I'm not sure. But yeah, that you're right. That is the person we gave Jam to. I don't know. I don't know what's going on. Guess we'll have to find out. We need something other than Chill Cop to interrogate him. Well, we couldn't use Incendiary Cop. Light shells on fire. Ooh, pale spooky. Burning Man! You just locked us down here.
Mr. Tolliver's muffled voice came from behind the door.
I wasn't lying, you know. This is for your own good. I don't know if I believe him. You kids just keep tight down there. And let the adult handle this.
They looked bewildered at each other.
Play it cool, huh? Not now, Beck.
They heard the staccato thump of quick steps exiting the house.
Is this an ending? Did we just die? Or something?
The kids looked down in resignation. This isn't how it goes in Hank Atomic. For some reason, they'd always assumed it was up to them to save their town. Luca opened his mouth, hoping to conjure some magical words to make this right. Only a hollow croak escaped. The end.
Yeah, okay. That was an ending. Alright, well, we got one new charm. We got Incendiary. So let's see where that can take us.
Well, we certainly aren't going to find a grand resolution to our tale locked in a basement.
I'll say.
Back to the drawing board.
Okay, so we got that one with Chill. Nothing we can do there yet. Right, we had the weather. We could do Rumble with the weather. Struggle and Change is done. The bad word and Chill here is done. Chill, Hide, and Ponder is all done here. What about over here? We have Strange and Tickle. Yeah, I remember those two. Strange and Tickle. Yeah, those were bad consequences. We couldn't really fix those, can we? And Shame. We're done with that one. And over here, Fight. Okay. So our only option is to go here and use Rumble. Back to Beck's house. Right? Yeah. We have Incendiary, which we can't use yet. We haven't discovered that path, so we know there's at least one more story point after this one. So let's go back, let's use Rumble. That's our only choice right now.
Luca began to respond, but the sky answered for him as the clouds above began to rumble with ominous thunder.
Sure we can make it home before the storm kicks off?
Luca surveyed the roiling clouds.
I'd say the odds are good. Maybe you should stay here and I'll just make a break for it.
At that moment, the heavens opened up, unleashing torrential rain.
Or nope. Care to recalculate those odds? You're inside, you two, before you get cold. Luca, Nellie will keep you trying to reach your Gran on the phone. In the meantime, you two hold tight. Sorry, not much to do up here. Most of my stuff is still in the boxes. Mind if I poke around? Be my guest. Alright, let's find another charm if we can.
Luca squinted into the eye hole of the microscope.
This looks wild. What is it? Gum! Gum?
Luca adjusted the slide with his fingers to get a better look.
I'm tracking the structural integrity of gum with increasing amounts of chewing. That's kind of cool. Chewed that one for 47 days.
Luca wiped his hand off on his sweater and gave a nervous laugh.
It's weird, I know.
Beck looked down, timidly tapping the ladder with her feet.
You think it's weird, don't you? A little. But weird can be cool. Oh, wow. Rolo and I have a radio just like this one at the treehouse. Probably not exactly like this one. My mom and I tore the whole thing down to the bolts. Fitted it with some state-of-the-art vacuum tubes. She seems pretty awesome. She gets carried away sometimes. I think she feels guilty for working too much. So when she does have time for me, she showers me with high-tech overcompensation.
Luca flicked at one of the toggles.
I bet you can get all sorts of stations on this. Not out here in the boonies. You wouldn't believe the stuff I could pick up back in the city. But around here, it's all farm reports and static. Ah, shucks. Okay, nothing there. Check this.
Luca bent down to examine the bouquet of wilting flowers. Judging by the odor, they were well past their prime.
Aha! Pungent. We got another one. What's that gonna be good for, though? I guess we'll see.
He flipped open the attached card.
Happy trails from Coach Walker and all the Fairview Condors. Boy, you weren't kidding about poking around, huh? Oh, sorry. Is this from your old school? The most recent one, yeah. Some schools gave me going-away cards. Some did flowers. When they're really trying to feel good about themselves, they do both. So you moved a lot. Yeah, that's the thing with having a brilliant parent. There's always a better job somewhere else. Well, flowers would last longer if you put them in some water. That's the sort of thing I would do if I cared. Oh, we're back. Well, you cared enough to keep them is all. Luca, can I ask you something? Of course. Dang, didn't that hurt? I'll be honest. That hurt more than I expected. Well, at least you looked cool doing it.
Beck took a moment to watch the rivulets of water running down the window.
You ever feel alone? Like even when people are around? Well, Rolo can be pretty absent-minded sometimes. I'm serious. Does it ever feel like your family doesn't care what you want? Didn't used to feel that way. I know Gran loves me, but sometimes when she looks at me, it's like she's looking at a problem.
Luca took a deep breath, exhaling slowly.
That's sad. I know the feeling. How do you deal with that? I guess I haven't yet. But one thing my dad told me when I was little: don't hold a grudge, especially against yourself. If you try to hold it all in, you're gonna pop. So then, what do you do when you don't know what to do? Dad never got to that part. Something I figured out on my own, though. You gotta do something. Anything. Here. What are you doing? I don't know. Something. We're gonna register our complaints with the storm. Listen here, you miserable universe. Stop jerking me around. I just want things to go back to the way they were. Everyone tells me it's gonna be alright. And things are gonna change.
Luca let out a feral scream that echoed into the night.
Every time something changes, everything gets worse. Screw this town. Whoa. Let me try. Moving sucks. I hate it. I hate that I hate it. Why can't I just deal with it and be happy for my mom? Why can't we just stay somewhere? Rah!
Her voice dropped to a trembling whisper.
I just want to be a normal kid. Oh, this game hits hitting deep. Oh boy. This game hits deep sometimes, man.
Beck brushed off her shirt and straightened up.
There. Wow, I actually feel a bit better.
As abruptly as it began, the storm abated.
Thanks. I needed that. Me too. I should head out before the rain starts up again. Sure, I'll walk you out. See you and Rollo at the festival? Sounds good. Luca, don't let the universe jerk you around.
Beck gave Luca a light thump on the arm before heading in. Chapter 5. Friendly Feud.
Here we go, chapter 5 again, but it's different this time because we took a different path. So, let's see where this leads us to.
The air was heavy with the hard rain's residue. The smell of wet things. Despite his dreary surroundings, Luca felt at peace. He'd never shared those details about his dad with anyone. Not even Rollo. But it's not like this changed anything. Rollo was still his best friend. Adding Beck to the group would help balance things out. Everything's better in threes. This is what Luca told himself as he headed to the treehouse.
Catch up with Rollo at the treehouse. Alright. Back to the treehouse now without Beck. Oh hey, it's Batgirl. Can't remember her name. Dawn, that's right. Hey Dawn, tracking down a lead? You bet. I heard just a new rumor. Turns out when Sharper Valentine died, he left behind a perilous last will and testament. Peculiar? Oh, peculiar, not perilous. How? He didn't just give his kids an inheritance. There were conditions. Like what? The document stipulated that heirs would have to take on a child as reward. A kid our age who just showed up to town one night with a lawyer. Solomon? Bingo. So Eris was forced to take care of him? Yep, or she would have lost everything. Why would Sharper care so much about some random kid? Rumor has it old Sharper sowed some wild oats. That explains the way Eris treats him. Or Solomon. How did you find all this out? A good reporter never gives away her source, Luca. That's a good point. Dedicated bug. When's the next break? I want some water, but I don't want to miss anything. Alright. I'll tell you what. Give me 2 seconds. See what's down around the corner here. Should be okay. Perfect. But no, you are right. It is. We've been streaming for just over an hour, so we're gonna take a quick break right now. Give you do what 2 or 3 minutes, and then we'll come right back. So you can go get your water, and we'll just leave it sit here for a little while. I'll see you soon. All right. I got my water and now I'm hydrated. All right, perfect timing because we are gonna jump back into it. You got your water, I got my water. Let's get going. Back to live on Beacon Pines. Here we go. That lady's still there, still reading their book. Crazy. He met his old friend's eyes and was greeted with nothing but ice-cold anger. Heavens! This is no time for fractured friendships. That book they're reading is absolutely crazy, but alright, let's go see Rollo. Oh! Excuse me, what are you doing? Just logging up for the night, sir. Oh, wonderful! I can only assume this means all festival preparations have been completed ahead of schedule. I'm not exactly, sir. The storm set us back a bit and it's getting late, so we all decided to... You all decided? Yes, sir. I was unaware that your job involved deciding things. We're all here at Perennial Harvest because we believe in creating a better future, yes? Yes, sir. Very much, sir. Do you want to be the one that tell this town that we failed them? No. That we gave up because it was a little rainstorm and we all got sleepy? Of course not, sir. Good, then it's decided. Yes, sir, we'll work until the task is done. See that you do. Our harvest awaits. Still haven't got inside that building. Let's go to the treehouse. Do I have any new things I can fish with? Don't remember if I do. I don't know if I do or not. Oh, I do. I have pungent. I can fish with pungent.
Luca wrapped a twig of thyme around the hook. Some fish have refined taste.
Come on, pungent. What are you going to give us? Pungent, pungent. Oh, there we go. What is that? Property of Sharper Valentine. Figures. If he had his way, property of Sharper Valentine will be written on everything in this town. Should we give it back to him? He may not even want it back. The man's got a contentious relationship with time. We'll keep it here in case he ever wants to pick it up. Yeah, I forgot about this part. We do see his dad. And his dad looks a lot like him. So unless his mom looks vastly different, his grandma might not be his grandma. Creepy. Anyway, thoughts for another time. Continue on. Rollo, are you still up there? I'm sorry, Rollo isn't accepting visitors at the moment. Come back never.
Luca had only ever heard him speak in this stiff yet gentle tone a few times.
Oh no.
And it always meant one thing.
Oh no. You're upset. Oh, what makes you say that? Maybe because my best friend abandoned me for no reason? I didn't abandon you. I'm just a little late.
Rollo scoffed.
The rain held me up. Liar! You weren't even home! What? The storm got bad and I got worried. So I went looking for you. Imagine my surprise when I made it to your house. And you weren't there. I hadn't made it back yet. I'm not a fool, Luca. It doesn't take all day to deliver some jam. No, that storm rolled in out of nowhere. And I got stuck after dinner at Beck's house.
Luca stumbled on his words, knowing he'd said too much.
Yeah. Beck? Dinner? What the heck is a Beck? She's a new kid in town. She's actually kind of cool. You'd like her. She needed help convincing her parents that she'd made new friends. New friends? I spent all day waiting for you, and you were off making new friends? It's not like that, Rollo. You know, while I was waiting, I made some upgrades to Mission Control. It was gonna be a surprise, but you took so long, the storm knocked it all down. Just like you knocked down our friendship. Oh, that hurts. What does that even mean?
Luca became instinctively angry in response. Both boys were now shouting across the distance.
It means you're a bad friend. You don't care about me. Of course I care, you... Bad word. I knew I'd get in trouble waiting so late for you. But I kept my word. That's what friends do. Oh wow, what a noble sacrifice you made. Man, they're just... the sarcasm. Easy for you to say. Your grand doesn't even care. Oh, ouch, I felt that one. You can stay out as long as you want. And you wouldn't even get in trouble. Seriously? You're acting like I chose this? If that's what you think, then maybe you're the bad friend. No!
Rollo's tone changed to a calm, yet more intense anger.
Maybe Pa is right. Storms bring more than water. This one brought out the real Luca. Stop quoting your Pa's nonsense like it means anything. Yeah, well, at least... Oh! Rollo! Rollo, that is below the belt. Yeah, well, at least my Pa is still around. Like... I feel that one. I'm not even Luca, and I feel that. Oh! That was uncalled for. That is a low blow. That hurts. Man. That is... Wow, that is bad. That is really bad.
The words hung in the cold night air.
Oh, how are they going to recover from this one?
Rollo's stomach dropped, knowing he'd crossed a line.
Yes, he most definitely did. This is intense.
But it was too late.
Luca, Good night, Rollo. Oh, I may have just lost it. Dang it. That hurts. I can feel that one away from the other side of the screen. Man, wow, that's rough. Ooh, that hurts.
Luca dug through his old stuff, not even sure what he was looking for.
Oh yeah, the soccer ball. Rollo. What a jerk. Call me a bad friend? Ooh, I'm Rollo. Look at me and my amazing family. Wow. Luca's really going through something, huh? Can't kick the ball out of the room, can I? No, I can't. Nothing else I can look at either, is there? No, doesn't look like it. I guess Little's never supposed to make new friends. Weep. Okay. I mean, I feel bad. It's terrible, but we got Weep. That's a new one. Good. We can use somewhere. Luca?
Gran cooed gently from the hallway.
You slept straight through breakfast. Luca, you alright? I'm fine. Just don't feel like getting up yet. I've been there. I've had those days. Those days are rough. Days are really hard. Okay, I'll leave this oatmeal by the door. I gotta run out and take care of some things. Okay. I'll be back later to check in. Sure.
Luca just wanted to be alone.
Mm.
He waited to hear the sound of the front door closing.
I mean, Rollo's still going to go to the festival. It's gonna be miserable.
Luca dozed off again.
Luca, I see you didn't eat your oatmeal. Wasn't hungry. Well, just in case you did get hungry, I'll leave a sandwich here too. Thanks. Rollo came by. What did he say? He wanted to talk to you. What did you say? I told him you weren't feeling well. Good. So your plan is just to sit in your room all day? Pretty much. Well, I need to pop out way again for a minute. If you decide to end your pity party and go outside, I think it would do you some good. Noted.
Luca still couldn't bring himself to go out. Besides, if he ran into Rollo, he'd have to actually confront the situation.
Poor Luca. Oh, he's really going through something, hey. Never anything interesting at the festival anyway. Well, hang on. Can I leave, or do I need to? Rollo thinks I'm still going to the festival with him. He can shove it. No, can't leave the room. Can't. Well, apparently we might have to kick something with the ball. See if I can get it close enough to kick it to the bedside there that they want to kick it to. There we go.
The Adventures of Hank Atomic.
The complete first volume.
Luca carefully opened the cover and began to read. Rollo had received it for his birthday. A special hardcover edition with behind-the-scenes commentary and bonus art. Rollo cherished it, but asked that Luca keep it at his house. Luca wasn't sure if it was because Rollo didn't trust himself with it, didn't trust his sister around it, or just wanted an excuse to come hang out at Luca's more often. Whatever the reason, Luca didn't mind. But it had stayed right there where Rollo had stashed it ever since. Now, at the foot of his bed, Luca lost himself in the pages. He'd read it all before, but at this moment, it somehow felt sentimental. He was well into issue number 5 when he heard soft footsteps from the hallway.
Luca? A little friend came to see you. A girl named Beck Modewell. She said you met yesterday? What did she say? Is she here? She was just dropping by. I told her you weren't taking visitors today. Oh. He seems nice. Yeah. You had a fight with Rollo, didn't you? Can I come in? Maybe later. Alright then. I'll leave dinner on the kitchen table. In case you want to bite before bedtime.
Without realizing it, Luca had pouted away the entire afternoon. He once again felt the weight of it all and allowed his weary eyes to close. Luca stood in a vast black expanse. He looked up at his father standing beside him. Walt was working a straw at the bottom of a fountain glass, trying to collect the last bits of milkshake. Dad, where are we? Taking a final loud gurgling sip, his father peered up from the glass. He jangled the straw playfully with a warm smile, then lifted the empty glass as if to point into the darkness. The source. Luca's eyes followed his father's gesture. In an instant, he was sitting in front of a blazing campfire. Across from him sat a large figure in a yellow hazmat suit.
Whoa.
The figure's voice was a scratchy echo. Well, if it isn't the man of the hour. Make yourself comfortable. Luca held his shivering hands over the flame to warm himself. It doesn't work that way here. Their yellow-gloved hand pointed to the base of the flame. It's a cold flame, see? Luca peered at the base of the fire. It wasn't wood that was burning. It was Beacon Pines itself.
What in the world?
Tiny buildings, freezing and crumbling as they were consumed by flame. Luca could see small shadows moving in the burning city. People. Luca leapt to his feet. We've got to help them! The figure gave a dismissive wave of their hand. Why waste energy helping people who can't even help themselves? The figure bent down to examine the panicked crowd as they desperately tried to stop the flames. They only care about what's right in front of them. Not like us. Luca's voice was a trembling whisper. Us? The figure slowly stood up, grabbing its helmet with both hands.
If it's an alien again, or an alien zombie. I know this is a dream, but still.
With a jolt and a twist, the suit emitted a gasp.
Is it a dream? It's gotta be a dream, right? Stands at the source. It's gotta be a dream.
A cloud of torpid mist escaped, slowly revealing the face within. Luca's own face looked back at him.
Whoa, they're pulling it Darth Vader. In in Star Wars episode Star Wars episode 5, Empire Strikes Back, Luke Skywalker goes into a dark cave where he's gonna face his fears, and it's Darth Vader. And so he fights Darth Vader. Of course, it's just a vision, but Darth Vader's mask gets blown away, and Luke sees his own face in the darkness reflected. And this is very much that same situation. Luca is seeing his own face in the darkness that's reflected in the town. Like, this is really cool. I love Star Wars so much.
Older, worn, distant. The sensation was oddly familiar, as if he'd caught his own reflection by surprise in the mirror. The doppelganger smiled. I tried to help once. He gestured towards his face. And all it got me was this. Lucas staggered back. You aren't me. Luca felt a hand catch his shoulder. His father was there again, beside him. Every choice sets us on a path. This is the end of one of your paths, son. Luca watched his older self shake its head ruefully, its face twisting into a cruel grin. Welp, Dad, if you wanted him to see this, far be it from me to disappoint.
Yeah, that is spooky but cool. Like they do the whole Star Wars Cave of Trials. Darkness reflected upon yourself. Hear the future. Yeah, man, this is really good. I like this. This is fascinating.
Luca watched in shock as the figure took a confident step forward and plunged into the flames. In a flash of cold light, he was gone. What does all of this mean? Luca felt a reassuring squeeze on his shoulder. Just remember, why we choose matters just as much as what we choose.
Fair enough. That's a good point.
Luca woke up to see a hazy figure at the foot of his bed, silhouetted in the morning sun.
Mom? No, dear. It's only Gran. Okay, maybe she does look a bit like him. Like, I can see the resemblance that could be his actual grandma. Could make sense, you know?
Luca rubbed his eyes. The kind, concerned face of his gran came into focus.
How are you feeling? Fine. Anything you want to talk about? I don't feel like talking. That's just as well. How about you sit there and listen a bit? Whatever you and Rolo fought about doesn't matter. But he...
Gran silenced Luca with a gentle pat on the leg.
Fights between friends happen. What was said doesn't matter. The important thing is, it is not the last thing you ever say to each other. But he said stuff about Dad. Well, do you think he meant it? No. He was just mad. Mm-hmm. And did you mean any things you said to him? No. Good. One must appreciate friends in their best moments and accept them in their worst. Ah, accept. Another one. Another one we can use somewhere. Now get your little butt out of bed. The festival's today. You don't want to miss that, do you? I guess not. Seems like a good opportunity to make amends with Rolo, doesn't it?
Luca gave a reluctant nod.
So buy him a corn dog and apologize. But he's the one that... What did I just say? Buy him a corn dog. That's a good boy. Everything's better with corn dogs. I need to get going now. Got some last minute festival business to take care of. I'll come find you at the mountain a little after lunch. Alright. I love you, Luca. Love you too.
Luca took a deep breath.
Okay.
Chapter 6. Through Thick and Thin.
Here we go. Another chapter.
Despite Luca's bitterness, Gran was right. He needed to hash things out with Rolo. A big fight changes the nature of a friendship. Whether, in the end, it is for the better or for the worse, all comes down to understanding. If one is not careful, the same familiarity that builds the strongest of bonds can become the wrecking ball that shatters them. Luca emerged from seclusion, taking in the crisp festival air. But the events of the day weren't on his mind. He had to find Rolo,
Alright, let's go find Rollo. There you are. Luca! Rollo wanted me to tell you something. What is it?
Roxy rolled her eyes, shaking her head.
So, a space adventure, though you needn't buy it. If you be brave, go somewhere quiet. Roxy? I don't. It's a riddle, Luca. My goofy little brother wants you to find him.
Luca looked down and kicked at the dirt.
Look, I know you two how to fight. The only thing more annoying than my little brother without his best friend. So I'm doing him this one favor. Now I need one favor from you. Whatever it is that went down between you two, squash it. Space adventures, though you needn't buy it. If you be brave, go somewhere quiet. Well, for starters, let's go check up here. He's not in here anywhere, is he? In this area? Luca's dad's grave? No. Okay. Other options could be the treehouse. Could also be the forest as well. So it leads out of Beacon Pines, right? Yeah, can't go that way. Crazy. It's a big festival today, but I gotta find Rollo. It's most important. It's not at the treehouse. Does he seem to be in the forest then, maybe? Can I go down here? No, I can't get in there. It's gotta be in the forest, right? Of course, the library. That makes sense. Okay. I'm actually gonna go back and talk to these people just so I don't miss anything before I see Rollo. Unless the game won't let me. In that case, I'll just go see Rollo. But yeah, the library, of course, makes the most sense. Did you hear? After Mr. Kerr gave his big speech, they're going to have the first annual Biggest Catch competition. As long as a boot qualifies as a catch, I'm a shoo-in. Yeah. Good luck. That's funny. How goes the beetle hunt? Pretty rotten. I haven't seen so much as an excuvii. And it's not just the beetles. This morning I couldn't find any critters at all. It's like everything that buzzes or skitters just packed up and left. I'm sure they're out there somewhere. Maybe all the commotion of this festival just spooked them. Yeah, maybe that's it. Not a good sign, though. Definitely agree, not a good sign. Unique New York. Unique New York. Huh? Oh, don't mind me. Just warming up for my big ceremony speech.
Mr. Kerr pointed to his grinning mouth.
Gotta limber up the old jab box. You nervous? Oh, heavens, no. Well, break a leg. Give me the gift of grip sock, or whatever that was. I don't know who Perennial Harvest thinks they're impressing with this ridiculous festival. Totally. The town's still falling apart. The weather's still cruddy. And this season's harvest looks like it's going to be worse than last year's. You said it. No amount of corporate pandering is going to change any of that. Exactly. But the lemonade at the drink stand over there does look pretty tasty. Fitz, I'm still going to be mad at them. I'd just rather be mad while sipping some delicious lemonade is all. Welcome to our festival. Don't forget to come back later for Mr. Kerr's speech and the Perennial Harvest Festival sign reveal. You don't want to miss it. We already got ponder, right? Yeah. Stand there and ponder. Ain't moving.
Jeff was staring into the distance with a wistful look.
Hey Jeff, everything all right? Yeah, everything's fine. I mean, used to be fine. Just ain't right these days, you know? I really do, actually.
Jeff turned to Luca with a furrowed brow, then gave an understanding nod.
You do, don't you?
For a moment, the two now shared that same wistful gaze.
Just staring off in the distance. Every single time. Yep. Wait for it. Unexplained sound once again noted. Bloody clipboards. Like clockwork. What a bunch of drones. Haha. Yeah, like I said, child I almost murdered the last time I played this game. Severely mutated. Yes. Murdered. No. A most welcoming of welcomes. Would you like to share your thoughts? We always strive to improve. Okay, are they... Like, they've got to be clones or robots or something, right? Like, are they robots? They got to be robots. They're so weird. Same canned answers. Nope. This is the first time I've seen this many small faces since the foul harvest. I had my doubts about perennial harvest, but I must admit they do put on a nice party. Piper, you're actually taking a break from studying? I want to see what the festival fuss is all about. But I can't help you but notice. You still brought your backpack full of books. Luca, backpacks can carry a lot more than just books. True, true. What you got in there? Books? I was able to return the perennial harvest safety suit you borrowed. I don't think anyone noticed. Good. Now will you tell me what you needed it for? It was a favor for an enemy of my enemy. This isn't going to harm Mr. Care, is it? All you need to know is that it's good for the family, or it's for the good of the family. It's not ominous at all. Yeah, let's go see Rollo. The library. Somewhere quiet. Hey, Luca.
Kato's eyes lit with excitement.
I've been expecting you. Bravo on deciphering the first riddle. Okay, library it is. Oh, hey, solve the riddle. I got an achievement. Cool. The first? Oh, you didn't think that was all, did you? Rollo does go all out, doesn't he?
Kato straightened up and cleared his throat as if preparing to sing.
Ahem. On planet Farpole, you may take issue. When the fifth king dies, you'll need a tissue.
Kato stared at Luca eagerly.
Get it? Want me to tell you? No, it's okay. Let me figure it out. Alright, when you find it, bring it here to be verified. And if you decide if you want a hint, the offer still stands. On planet Farpole, you may take issue. When the fifth king dies, you'll need a tissue. Is it a book of some
Luca
sort?
grabbed the 5 pillars of success from the shelf.
Once you got a book, you can either bring it here to me, or just grab a different one. It's definitely not the 5 pillars of
Luca
success.
grabbed The Issue with Self-Help, a helpful guide, from the shelf.
No.
Luca grabbed 500 meals for 1 big pot from the shelf.
Definitely not. Farple. Fifth King dies.
Luca grabbed The Modern Science of Atomic Radiation from the shelf.
No.
Luca grabbed Natural Photography, Volume 5 from the shelf.
It's gonna be a comic book, right? They're up here.
Luca grabbed The Adventures of Hank Atomic, issue number 4 from the shelf.
That could be it.
Luca grabbed The Adventures of Hank Atomic, issue number 5 from the shelf.
It's gotta be that one, right? The fifth version. Ah, you found it!
Kato removed his book from the desk and replaced it with Luca's, turning on the lamp. As he slid the book under the purple light, 2 words glowed.
Ultraviolet light, secret messages.
The Adventures of Hank Atomic, issue 5. Luca clicked his tongue with recognition.
Rollo's cipher pen. Yep. He used it to write secret messages everywhere with that. And only I had the special flashlight needed to reveal it. But I lost it. Well, apparently he traded Jeff for this purple light bulb. Parted with his entire Halloween candy stash. Oh, Rollo. Now let's see here.
Kato began flipping through the pages, stopping when he hit a glowing word.
Get away with such a grift.
He continued flipping.
Only found in Grub Cart.
Reaching the end of the book, Kato looked up.
That's it. Grift. In Grub Cart. Grift in. Griffin. Griffin's Grub Cart. He wants me to go to Griffin's snack stand. Ah, brilliant. I guess you're off then? Good luck on the rest of the scavenger hunt. Thanks, Kyle. Go to Griffin's snack stand. Away we go. Let's back this way. Back at the festival. Down here, right? Yeah. So it's the right spot? Yep, perfect. Hey, Griffin. Did Rollo come?
Before Luca could finish his sentence, Griffin handed him a corn dog.
A corn dog, of course. Oh, that's it? Bought and paid for. Enjoy. Thought there was supposed to be a riddle or something.
Luca shrugged, taking a sizable bite out of the corn dog.
Yuck. It's cold. Oh yeah, it's been sitting here for a while. Rollo wanted to be sure to give you that one specifically. Well, that's just
Luca tongued at his cheeks, feeling something rough between his teeth.
the hidden message on the corn dog, isn't there?
He reached into his mouth and pulled out a slip of paper.
Yep. Oh, come on.
He shook off the bits of corn dog to read the slip.
A pickup when you need some pep. Near the fountain, up the step.
Luca finished off the remainder of the corn dog.
So, this is getting to be a whole thing. A pickup when you need some pep. Near the fountain, up the step. Oh, coffee. The coffee shop. I know that one. Luca, did you know that Beacon Pines is actually unincorporated? A lot of people didn't know that. Oh yeah, what? Oh yeah, I didn't know that. What's that mean? It means most public works are handled internally. We do all the pipelines, the water treatments, building regulations. That's great. Census taking? Emergency services? Oh, little kids. Alright. By the fountain, up the step, need some pep. Definitely the coffee house. Can I go inside? No. Talk to them, though. There you are, Luca. There's no way I'm actually doing this. It's way below my pay grade. Oh, come on, you big stiff. Let the kids have some fun. Fine. Rollo owes me one.
Lumi waved his hands around sarcastically as he began.
What takes flight but has no wings? Your final task a friendship brings. See, that wasn't so hard. Hard! Aha! There we go. Another one we can use for later on. Oh, I feel cheapened somehow. I think it's sweet. What takes flight but has no wings? Your final task a friendship brings. Good luck, Luca. Is that their spaceship? Like their treehouse spaceship? It could be it. Hey. Oh, hey, it's Rollo. Hey. Did you find the comic book? Yep. And you got corn dog? Yeah. Well then. I know it doesn't make up for what I said. Of course, balloons. Takes flight without wings. But here, you've earned this.
Rollo sheepishly handed Luca the balloons.
Yeah, balloons. Flight. Ah, we're raking in the charms now. Thanks. You didn't have to go all this trouble. Sorry I got so mad. Dang it, you're supposed to let me apologize first. Oh, sorry. Now you've apologized twice before me. Just let me do this. Luca, I'm really sorry. With everything that's happened with your mom and all, I've always wanted to be there for you. Be a good friend, you know? When you said you were hanging out with someone else, I kind of freaked out. Rollo. Still my turn. I felt like if you didn't need a new friend to help you, or if you needed a new friend to help you, it meant that I wasn't good enough. But that was selfish and wrong. I was wrong. I'm so sorry, Luca. Okay, apology over. You can talk now.
Luca threw himself at Rollo, hugging him as tightly as he could.
Rollo, I don't deserve you. I don't deserve you either. That's why we deserve each other. So, what else do you want to do today? We could snoop around and try to find you some info about your mom. Snoop where? We could probably sneak into Perennial Harvest headquarters while everyone's at the festival. Aren't you curious what all the stuff those clipboards write down? What if we get caught? I think I've had enough excitement for 1 week. Let's just make the rest of the day about us. Really? Yeah. The rest of the world can wait one more day. You know, I haven't wanted... Oh, excuse me. A yawn there snuck up on me. I have been wanting to get some work done on the MCDC at Mission Control. The aim is a bit unpredictable. That sounds perfect. Head to the treehouse with Rollo. Let's go to the treehouse. Do 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 do. Oh, I almost forgot. I ran into your gran this morning. He asked me to give you this.
Rollo handed Luca an unopened letter.
I'll wait for you inside if you want to read it now. A letter?
Luca, Some things are going to happen that might be difficult for you to understand. If I am honest, I hardly understand them myself. But whatever happens, I need you to know that I love you.
Oh, that's bad. It's giving off very bad vibes.
None of this is fair to you. You have already lost so much.
Very bad.
We both have. I wish there was a simpler way forward. But if there is, I haven't thought of it. God knows I've tried. Everything I've done, I did for you. I hope someday you can accept that. Love, Gran.
Oh no, what's gonna happen? I love you too, Gran.
Luca folded the paper into his pocket and headed up the ladder.
What's up with the letter? Anything you want to talk about? Maybe later. Sure, whenever you want. You know, you really didn't have to go through all that trouble just to apologize. I know, but we've been looking forward to the festival for weeks. After I ruined everything with my big mouth, this was the best way to make sure you still had a good time without me. Rolo.
Luca was at a loss for words. But that was fine. Words aren't always necessary.
Festival seemed nice. Wasn't nice? We can still go. Nah, this is fine. Well, there's always next year.
Sadly, this was untrue.
Yeah, this is a bad ending, isn't it?
A distant rumble shook the treehouse.
Here we go. Huh? What was that? Oh man, we missed the fireworks?
It was not fireworks.
It was not fireworks.
It was something the boys couldn't possibly comprehend.
Oh no.
Something as old and cruel as time itself.
What is that?
A shockwave of cold tore through the room. A bitter, unfathomable chill.
What the heck just happened? We got an achievement. The big chill. I thought everything was gonna blow up. Everything just froze? Why is it freezing? It's the middle of winter. Or the middle of summer, isn't it? The fall? I'm so confused. What is happening?
Before they could react, it encased them in ice. Two boys, reunited by friendship, only to be cruelly separated by a malevolence beyond reason. And so, our story ends on this melancholy scene. In a silent treehouse turned statuary, in a town brought low by its secrets, sits a pair of friends, alone, together. For the rest of time.
That's intense. Okay? Alone together the rest of the time. I thought I figured this story out. I thought I had a fairly decent amount of my questions answered, but this is like completely not what I was expecting. And I got a message here. Dedicated bug, if you keep playing, you will find out what happened. Yeah, I'm sure I will, but like I was expecting an explosion, not a giant freeze, and like the treehouse is high up in the air and instantly frozen. Like I'm so confused. I am so very confused. We've got a lot of charms, we've got a lot of good stuff. Let's see if we can figure this out. It's a mystery, right? More questions now than I ever had answers for, but we're not at the end yet. We're getting there. We got more charms. Let's see what we can do. Change the flow of time, as it were.
The end.
There's way more that will happen. Yeah, I'm not surprised. This game keeps pushing more and more twists at me. And this game is not nearly as short as I thought it was. This is definitely going into a full-fledged game. Because yeah, this is. I guess we'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll see where we can go now with our new charms.
No, that can't be the ending. It simply can't.
See, it's my reaction too.
I won't accept it, and I hope you won't either.
Well, I mean, we can. This is a great time to just like stop and never play it again. No, that's terrible. We're gonna find out the answers. We're gonna find out the truth. We're gonna see what happens. We want the true, the good ending. We need answers. I'm on a mission. Need answers.
There are more endings, more possibilities. I can feel it.
As long as we got charms, we can get answers.
We are just going to have to sort through them all until we find the one that fits.
I agree. All right, let's go back to the beginning then. We got ponder, hide, and chill, all done. Okay, we got chill and bad word, all done there too. Struggle and change, both done. Break and rumble, again, both done. Aha, here we have hard we can use, which is good. We use chill, now we can use hard for the interrogation scene. Hopefully come up with a different outcome. Over on this side, tickle and strange we used both times. Shame we used, we don't have another option yet. But here we have flight. We had used fight, now we have flight. So this side is the one where Rolo was kidnapped. We strangely, massively deformed a child when they pushed him into toxic waste. And we were surrounded by clipboards. We also have this option on this side where Rolo is safe. And we can interrogate a squirrel. And the question is, where we're going to go? Because I don't know. Because we can go on this side where Rolo's safe, where we were spending most of the evening. This stream. Or we can jump across back to this branch and use flight and see where that will get us with the clipboards. Because fight didn't work, we lost. And that could get us a lot more answers. But I'm also very curious about the explosion. Because the explosion, you killed a child last time. he was not dead. Severely mutated. He was still alive. He was still breathing. He was still talking. I did not kill a child. Severely mutated, yes. Did not murder, in my defense. So I think we're going to stay away from the child murdering side. We're going to continue with the investigation. We're going to go not chill cop. We're going to go hard cop. See where that takes us.
They'd run the classic good cop, hard cop interrogation.
And not let him free so we can escape and trap us.
Rolo brandished a steely gaze. I've got this. Read about it 100 times. Rolo swaggered past the chair which propped up the slumping Hiram Tolliver. Without even looking at his captive, he began with a long, blustery drawl.
Well, Mr. Tolliver.
Mr. Tolliver remained motionless. Rolo spun around to face him. He'd clearly expected to rouse Mr. Tolliver with his booming voice.
Mr. Tolliver?
Beck and Luca gave each other an unsure glance. Rolo slammed his fist on the table.
I said, Mr. Tolliver!
He grabbed the table lamp and beamed it onto the unconscious face.
Rolo, calm down, man.
Mr. Tolliver groaned and slowly lifted his head. He recoiled with a muddled, weary squint.
What in the world?
The chair wobbled as he attempted to straighten up.
Who? Who's there?
Mr. Tolliver could only make out rough shapes through the glaring light. With a gruff tone, Rolo hoped to both conceal his voice and intimidate.
I'll be asking the questions here, punk. Now hold on, let's just calm down. Oh, I am calm. Calm as a carrot in dirt. As for you, looks like you're sweating.
The doubtful expression on Beck and Luca's faces transformed into awe.
We can do it my way, my way, or, well, let's just say I've never needed another way.
Rollo, hitting his stride, was now channeling every detective trope his memory could recall. He slammed the table again.
Now dance! What? I don't even...
Mr. Tolliver's voice became desperate. He was nearly in tears.
You tied me down. How on earth can I dance? Dance with your mouth, punk. Spill the beans! What are you doing poking around this house? I'm here to help Juniper. To make sure everything's ready. Oh, so you're in cahoots with Gran. Gran?
Mr. Tolliver was in a daze, now more confused than ever.
Gonna help her blow up the festival, eh? Blow up the festival? Good lord.
He shook his head, feeling more and more dizzy.
No, you've got it all wrong. Where is she now? She's headed to the source. Whoa, the source. Why did you dream about the source? It's a real thing? Source? What's the source? It's where
His voice faded to a whisper.
the town began. Whoa. Okay, hang on. Where it all began. Okay, so hang on a second. If the source is real, if that's like the beginning of the town, beginning of time, as it were, it'll explain how we can jump between timelines and branches and fix things. But what if the big chill, that giant freeze, wasn't a literal freeze ice age? What if that was someone affecting the timelines outside of our timeline and it caused our timeline to freeze? Because someone was messing around with the source. Or the town got destroyed, and that's why. I don't know. I'm just grasping at straws here, but more answers than questions at this, or more questions than answers at this point, but I guess we'll find out. So let's continue on. What is Operation Sparkplug?
With that, Mr. Tolliver passed out cold. Rollo swung around with a repentant grimace.
Damn, Rollo. I mean, bad word, Rollo. I think you went a little too hard on him. What did you say about the source? It's where the town began? We need more information. Yeah, but we better not punish Mr. Tolliver any further. Is there anything else? Anyone else who might know more? What about the History Museum? It just got set up for the festival. Now that tent was put up by the Valentines. Everything they do is just a bunch of fluff to glorify themselves. Is there anything more reliable? The library? Is there any information about this source thing? Cato can help us find it. So we'll get some answers. All right, let's find some answers. Hopefully. This is a dang nice library. Thanks, we work hard on it. Aren't you a little young to be a librarian? Oh, Cato hung on here so much, eventually they gave him a set of keys. I just keep an eye on the place for Miss Novak sometimes. They got you working for free? It's quiet and I get access to all the books I can read. What more could a person want? Fair enough. What can I do for y'all? You need a favor. I already told you and Rollo. I can't put you any higher on the wait list for the next Hank Atomic. And if you're here with more candy, I'll have you know I can't be bought. Call it a personal code of conscience. Actually, we're looking to do some research. Now you're speaking my language. What are you looking for? That's the thing. We sort of don't know. What do you got on the history of the town? Here's the country record archives. What's in those? Birth, deaths, newspaper clippings, stuff like that. Pretty boring reading. But they do go all the way back to when the town was founded. Great start. We'll start there. Chapter 8.
I
think it's the furthest we've been, haven't I? I've never been to chapter 8 before.
6 feet under, 3 towns over.
Oh. This should be interesting.
The kids spent the rest of the afternoon combing through dusty piles of old county records, desperately searching for anything that could help them make sense of Mr. Tolliver's cryptic utterance. Luca tried to shake the thought of Gran's basement, but his focus wavered. Explosives, messages hidden in jam, dossiers on various town figures, and a corkboard threaded with photos. Gran was the only family he had left. He still couldn't bring himself to believe the worst. But the old map with the symbol of explosives in town square made that difficult. As the sun began to set, the kids were no closer to the truth.
If I have to read any more records, my eyeballs are gonna pop. We have to keep digging. If I dig another word, I'm gonna end up in one of them's asinine death records. Roll O'Connor lived a full and wonderful life, till he read so much boring crud that his brain oozed out of his ears.
Rollo shut his book with an assertive nod.
If you got a better idea, spit it out. You sound like my sister. Keep pushing your luck, pal. And it won't be boring country records that kill you. I'll put you in the obituaries myself.
Rollo muttered under his breath.
You're a country record. Really? That's the best you got? When I'm done with you, you'll be the footnote in history. Just like...
Beck slammed her finger down on the open page before glancing down to read.
Hey, Hartford here. I'd love to see you try. Hey. We're all a little tired here. Let's just take a minute.
Something tickled the back of Luca's mind.
Wait, what was that name, Beck? In the obit? J. Hartford. From the Brookville Tribune, 20 years ago. That can't be right. What is it? J. Hartford. That's my grand's name. Whoa. Juniper Hartford. Is his real grand pass away? Did she take someone's identity? Is that an evil person who took his grandmother's identity? Maybe there were 2 J. Hartfords. Mrs. Hartford is survived by her young daughter, E. Hartford. My mom's name is Eleanor. Okay, this is getting creepy. I'll say. If your grand is 6 feet under, 3 towns over, then who am I living with?
The question hung in the air.
Alright, gang, I gotta close up for the night.
Beck rubbed her eyes.
How late is it? Almost 10. Oh crap, Paul's gonna kill me. I gotta go. Yeah, my parents will be worried sick. Okay, let's meet up as early as we can at the festival tomorrow. What are you gonna do about the unconscious man in your basement? I'll think of something. So his grandma's not his grandma,
Luca's
hey?
heart was pounding as he approached the house.
Maybe?
If he was lucky, Gran, or whoever it was, hadn't gotten back yet. And of course, there was Mr. Tolliver tied up and unconscious in the basement.
Yeah, the hostage.
Dealing with him would be the first order of business. Luca shook out his arms to calm his nerves before entering. He held perfectly still, tempering his breath, and listened closely. She was asleep.
Okay, she's asleep, good.
His only hope was that she hadn't found Mr. Tolliver before dozing off.
Check out Mr. Tolliver in the basement. Alright, let's see what we can do. Okay, it's open. That's a good sign. Is that broom there before, though? Of course he's gone. Oh no.
Mr. Tolliver was nowhere to be seen.
Maybe he woke up, escaped from his bindings, and left without a trace.
Or maybe Gran knew everything.
Yeah, that's a good possibility. What do I do?
Luca's hungry stomach groaned. Not realizing it, he'd gone the entire day without eating.
Okay, I guess I can figure this out. Just need a little brain food.
Luca rushed over to the pile of jam jars, unscrewed one, and shoveled a handful into his mouth.
Afraid your jam delivery will be delayed.
He flipped the lid to read the label.
Mr. Nuncreed, hee hee. Okay, now I can think. So if Gran knows we tied up Mr. Tolliver, I'm screwed. If he doesn't know, then I need to play it cool. I guess the only option is to go to bed and act as if nothing was wrong. Gran will think Mr. Tolliver finished. Gran will think Mr. Tolliver finished what he was sent to do and left when he was done. Alright, go to sleep. Okay, so bedtime for me. Hey, is Grandma still asleep though? Or is she gonna be like awake and like watching, waiting for me to come back upstairs? So I have to go back to the living room to get to the bed, right? Upstairs? Oh yeah, I'm in trouble. Gran? Okay, stick to the plan. Go to bed and play it cool.
As Luca climbed the final stair, the emotion of the day dragged heavily on him. With each consecutive step, his legs weakened. His stride began to falter. He tried to grab for the railing to steady himself.
Uh-oh.
Something was wrong.
Come on, legs. Just a few more steps.
Luca groaned and tried to move. His limbs might as well have been bolted to the ground.
Did he eat some jam? Is it poisoned? Is he gonna die?
Through numb lips, he mumbled just before falling asleep.
Or is he just like super exhausted? Ah, yeah, the jam. It was the jam. Someone's there. Sweet boy. What did you get yourself into? Rest now, and let me handle everything. It's not ominous at all.
Chapter 9.
Oh, chapter 9. Okay, there we go.
A speech to end all speeches.
Well, this should be interesting.
Luca awoke to find himself face down in bed. He moaned into his pillow. Why would Gran drug him? Or rather, why was she trying to drug Mr. Nuncreed?
That's a good point. That is the jam he ate, wasn't it? It was Mr. Nuncreed's jam.
Shaking the questions from his woozy head, Luca snapped back to the matter at hand.
The festival. What's gonna happen? Or is it too late? Where have you been? Gran put something on the jam. Yeah, we know. Secret messages for secret conspirators. Not this one. The one intended for Mr. Nuncreed. Put me to sleep. Wasn't he the bad guy, though? The one who was like, I want jam. Give me your Gran's jam. And then he, like, shoved me in a phone booth. Is that the same guy that I'm thinking of? Whoa, ho, ho. Sly, devil. Sly. Oh, we got another one now. Okay, cool. What are we going to do with that? I think she's trying to remove him from the equation. He might be in danger. Have you found anything? We looked around, but haven't seen anything odd. Your Gran is nowhere to be found. But Mr. Nuncreed isn't loafing around. Is just loafing around waiting for the speech. What speech? Mayor Gus just got to the podium. Everyone is gathering at the stage. Let's get moving. Oh, this should be good.
Augustus Valentine nervously wiped his brow.
Is this thing? Hello, Beacon Pines. I'm Augustus Valentine, your mayor, and I suppose you already know that. Oh yes, before we get started, I just wanted to take a moment to recognize someone who couldn't be here today. This town wouldn't be where it is today without my father, Sharper Valentine. So I thought we could begin with a round of applause, being fitting such a great man. Even that's more than the old codger deserved.
Gus cleared his throat and awkwardly loosened his tie.
Right, where was I?
William Kerr bounded on the stage with the energy of a preacher at a big tent revival.
Gus Valentine, everyone!
He gave Gus a hearty slap on the back and motioned him off the stage.
Let's hear it for our mayor. What a great turnout! Oh, Hank, I didn't prepare anything. But I suppose I could say a few words. Would be a shame to waste such a beautiful podium.
Mr. Kerr pulled a thick stack of note cards out from his vest.
Oh yeah, didn't prepare anything? Uh-huh. Community, conviction, commitment. These are the things we celebrate at Perennial Harvest. For us, these are the pillars of the bridge to a better tomorrow. But I think it's time to add a new pillar. Change. Change is a powerful thing. It's inexorable, whatever that word is, unavoidable, and undeniable. I am dadgum thankful for it. Change is the reason we're all together today. It's hard for me to believe that was only 4 years ago when fate brought me here. A simple business trip which brought me to a small town which would change my life forever.
Mr. Kerr took a moment to survey the crowd.
You know what?
He wiped away a single tear.
Dramatic much. From the second I set foot in Beacon Pines, something about this place has held me captive. You see, change represents opportunity. It represents potential. It was change that helped me recognize the potential of this place. To see that the people of this town, despite suffering great loss, still held on to the things that made them special.
He thumped the podium to emphasize each word.
Community, conviction, commitment. Change.
Mr. Kerr nodded confidently, biting his lip. The crowd was silent, in rapt attention.
Fate made a perfect match that day. Nothing is more important to y'all than community. And perennial harvest is a community first and foremost.
Mr. Kerr methodically made eye contact with each section of the crowd.
The only way he made it through the foul harvest was an unshakable conviction. A conviction that a better tomorrow was just over the horizon. Perennial Harvest was founded on the conviction that we are that horizon. This festival is a symbol of our commitment to each other.
His voice began to build to a crescendo.
We now walk hand in hand into a future we're shaped together. And that is what change is all about. Grabbing the future by the scruff of the neck and making things happen. Change is a choice. I am tickled pink that we will all be making that choice together. How great is that? Just imagine what we can accomplish. Uh-oh. What was that?
The crowd began to look around nervously.
Don't worry, Little Thunder isn't going to ruin this day. Everyone, remain calm. I don't like this.
Mr. Kerr quickly flicked through his note cards.
Where was I? Through all of my travels, I have learned one true thing. One always reaps what they sow. We have all planted a lot of good in this town. And so it is with a happy heart that I can proclaim...
He raised his hands up to the heavens.
Here it is. A harvest awaits! And there's the big freeze again. What is going on?
At that moment, a merciless wall of impossibly cold air ripped through the crowd, instantly freezing everyone and everything it touched.
Yeah, exactly. The Great Freeze again. Dedicated bug. Yeah, the Great Freeze. Again, here it is another time. So what is with... And it's both times it's happened in that timeline, right? The left branch of the tree. So what is with this timeline that has the Great Harvest? What is going on? What is the Great Harvest?
For a man like William Kerr, this was a fitting way for things to end. On a stage, with an entire town frozen in rapt attention for the rest of time. The end.
Okay, looks like we might be going back to do Flight on the other side of the spectrum. See how that one ends. Because it seems like on the left side, things end with a big freeze, and we can't stop it.
There's that ice again! Whenever I think we're getting close, it comes along and ruins everything! Maybe we should just quit? Maybe you should just close the book, walk away, and never think of me again.
Well, there we go. Problem solved, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for the stream. It's been great. Book told me to end it. We're done. Good night. Go to bed. I'm kidding. We're not going to do that. We're going to continue on. Because I want to know what the Great Freeze is. What is going on? Let's figure it out.
No, I don't mean that. We got a little closer this time. We just need to try again. Please.
Okay, here we go. We have Flight, right? Now we have another option for this one. We did Chill, we did Hard. Now we can do Sly and see if we get another Great Freeze. So let's do Sly. Let's continue on this path. See if we can't figure this out.
They'd run the classic good cop, sly cop interrogation.
And we still haven't gotten a chance to do the Incendiary one yet, so this should be interesting.
Luca and Rollo ducked behind a barrel, leaving Beck to her task. With a few crisp snaps, she roused Mr. Tolliver.
Specs' turn this time. What? What's going on here? You're that Moldable girl. Please call me back. Sorry about all this.
Mr. Tolliver looked down and shifted a bit, testing his restraints.
It seems there's been a mix-up. You see, I'm down here for the same reason you are. Juniper sent you here?
Beck caught herself before letting the surprise manifest on her face. She'd already gotten him to reveal his relation to Gran.
Mm-hmm.
This was going to be easy.
You know how Juniper is with her precautions. Operation Sparkplug has us all on edge. I guess you thought you needed some backup. But she sent a child? What better way to avoid prying eyes? Who would suspect a kid? I suppose that makes sense.
Mr. Tulliver wriggled a bit in his restraints.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Beck quickly removed the ropes.
I don't have to be uncomfortable. A little, yeah. But you understand. We never know who to trust in this little town.
Mr. Tulliver rubbed the growing knot on his forehead.
Very true. So it turns out we're both here to...
Beck twirled her hand, as if to prompt Mr. Tulliver to finish her thought.
destroy the evidence. Oh.
Beck shook her head and clicked her tongue.
Yeah, the old gal is nothing if not thorough.
Mr. Tulliver let out an amused huff in agreement.
It sure is. Can't blame her, though. If anyone were to find out we're going to destroy the source, well, we both know how bad that might be. No one will know anything once I finish clearing things up down here.
Beck was on a roll now, playing Mr. Tulliver like a fiddle.
You sure you can finish this up on your own? Juniper trusted me for a reason. You can leave the rest to me. Good, there's one more loose end I'll work on. Loose end? Oh, it's nothing really. The other day I had the radio on scan while restocking the candy shelf. And wouldn't you know it, I intercepted an odd phrase in Perennial Harvest transmission. Underground secrets. That's ominous. I think it might be a password, but Juniper dismissed it. Said it wasn't mission critical. What's the passcode for? We don't know. So we have a password and know where to put it? It's gotta mean something, right? Good thinking. You should probably go work that out. I got this under control. That's a relief. Between you and me, this basement gives me the willies.
Heading for the stairs, Mr. Tulliver hesitated and turned to Beck with a puzzled look. She grinned and gave him a peppy wave. With a shrug, he continued up the stairs, whistling a jaunty tune.
You guys catch that? Sure did. This whole time, Mr. Tulliver's had a candy shelf. But all he ever sells us is apples.
Beck blinked slowly in disappointment.
Because that's the important info that came out of that conversation. The password, Rollo. Well, sure, but once things are back to normal, I'll be having a word with Mr. Tulliver with that candy shelf. Fine. In the meantime, I've got an idea.
She turned to the table and began tearing small scraps of paper.
He said he heard a password on the radio. Any good spy transmission is never what it seems.
Beck marked each scrap of paper and leaned back.
We just need to find the hidden meaning. Okay. What's another word for underground? Buried, covered. Could it be a cover-up? Maybe it's one of those each letter is a number things. So U would be 21. N would be 14. D would be... Ooh. It's an anagram. Nunn Creed's drugstore.
Luca and Beck looked at Rollo with amazement.
Rollo, that was incredible. Well, it's either that or Kren's new drugstore. Yeah, I think you were right the first time. How did you do it? What can I say? I love ciphers. Well, I guess we know where to go next. Finally, Nunn Creed's drugstore. Yeah, that's no good. We know that. Finally, we get some answers, hopefully. Hang on a second. You scared me half to death. Sorry. You kids ain't seen Mr. Tolliver around, have you? No? He's got me waiting around like a last slice of pie. I swear that man will be late to his own funeral. Interesting. Let's go down to the drugstore. Ah. You're late, Augustus. Sorry, sister. Was caught up with work. Work? You? I had a few more details logged down for the festival. Oh, what do you have to report? What is this insipid town festival really about? I think...
Gus looked around nervously.
I think Mr. Kerr really does want to do something good for the town. He's actually just a pretty nice guy. You should spend some time with him. I didn't pull strings installing you as mayor so that you can make friends. Your job is to help me figure out what Kerr and Perennial Harvest true intentions are with this town. It took me a while, but I just figured out they were in the exact same suit. Same shirt, same color tie. Crazy. We have a responsibility. This is our father's town. Was. Excuse me? It was our father's town. He's gone, Eris, and he isn't coming back. Father left us with nothing but problems. Mr. Kerr came here and offered to help us. We accepted that help. We didn't agree to them turning Father's warehouse into a toxic dumping ground. That was just a temporary arrangement. The glow can be seen from our damn backyard. They're dumping their nasty little secrets on us. When all this inevitably goes wrong, who do you think will be blamed?
Eris's cry hung in the air.
We have a new choice now to make, sister. The town is going to change, whether we like it or not. Are we going to choose to be a part of that future, or be forgotten in the past? It's a shame. Father named you Augustus, but you will always just be a Gus. Good night, Eris. I'll see you at breakfast tomorrow. It's getting late, children. Let's go check out that drugstore. Here we go. Oh, he's there.
Solomon stood proudly at the entrance to the drugstore,
What's he doing there?
holding a brown bag overflowing with black licorice.
Hey, Solomon. We're looking for Mr. Nuncreed. Is he still there? I'm afraid not. Then where'd you get the candy from? You might say we have an arrangement.
Solomon shoveled a surprising amount of licorice into his mouth.
Sometimes it's the small pleasures in life that we might not always have families to rely on. Licorice has never let me down. Well, I can't say licorice would be my first choice, but whatever floats your boat. You can tell a lot about a person by the choice of confection. Oh, yeah, I guess. I like sour gobs. I'm certain you do. I always wondered why Mr. Nuncreed kept licorice in stock. He must eat enough of it to make it worthwhile. There are many ways to earn loyalty. For some, it's as easy as cold, hard cash. Well, he's right. It's locked. There's got to be more clues. Okay, let's see. Door's locked. Telephone booth light is on, though. Everything else is probably close too, isn't it? Yeah. Okay, let's check out the telephone booth. Have you ever seen anyone actually use this thing? Besides Mr. Nuncreed? Besides Mr. Nuncreed? No.
Beck cupped her hands on the glass to peek inside.
That is not a normal phone booth. It's got, like, a blinky keypad. Why would there be a blinky keypad? Cran's Nude Rock Store! I mean, Underground Secrets! The password!
Beck flung open the door, and they all squeezed in.
Oh, are we finally getting answers? Alright, let's see here.
Luca cracked his knuckles and entered the letters into the keypad.
Underground Secrets. Sounds like that did something. Great, now what? I guess we...
The
Oh!
inside of the phone booth dropped loose from its shell.
Finally! Okay, now we're really getting somewhere. This is good.
Without even the space to panic, they closed their eyes, held their breath, and accepted their fate. Suddenly, the chaotic descent slowed to an effortless landing. It was unclear where they ended up, but at least it was solid ground. The air was stagnant and smelled vaguely of chlorine.
I knew it. You knew that there was a secret hub full of strange tubes under the phone booth? Of course I did. Didn't I say that? No. I definitely thought it. Luke, do you remember when I said how cool it would be if the transdimensional conduits from Hank Atomic to Issue 12 were real? Rollo, at one point or another, you said that about every technology ever discussed at Hank Atomic. That's why I'm such a good predictor. It looks like each of these has something written on them. Now this is really interesting. And there's the hazmat suit too. Is it the one I broke though? Because if it is, it could be Mr. Nuncreed who grabbed me in the beginning. This suit has a broken mask. So have we found our mysterious warehouse creeper? We've at least found their hazmat suit. If it walks like a Nuncreed and talks like a Nuncreed, let's not jump to conclusions. Just saying. Mining Operations Alpha. You guys have mines here? Not that I know of. This town is all farms and fertilizer. And a series of tubes. Pa always says you can only trust a miner up to the point where they hit gold. Not sure how that wisdom applies in this exact situation. That's the thing about Pa. You don't always realize what he means until it's too late. Perennial Harvest Main Office. Ah, that's where my mom works. What does she do? Or what does she do? Science stuff. Is she involved in all of this? We just moved here. How could she be involved? True. Valentine Fertilizer Warehouse. Isn't that where you almost got snatched? Yeah. Why would a perennial harvest have a tube going to that old Valentine place? This is starting to feel like something big. Oh. That's a lot of buttons. Stand aside, Earthlings. I've read enough Hank Atomic to know my way around sci-fi tech.
Rollo's hands hovered over the field of blinking buttons.
Eeny, meeny, miny. Uh-oh. Rollo, what did you do? Nothing. I didn't even move yet. What was that? Hide. Where? There's nothing but weird tubes down here. Into the tubes, then. Just get back. Whoa. Great word to say upon discovering children in your hidden underground lair. Not gonna repeat that, though. It's a bad word. And they say it right back. Great. Bad influence. And a third. And then Rollo's like, awesome! You all need to come with me now. We aren't going anywhere with you. Not until we get some answers. Mr. Underground Secrets. I told them it was an absurd password. But they love anything that makes them feel clever. They who? That's no matter. If I can keep you hidden until after the festival, I might be able to save your skins. We don't care about our skins. Hold on now, I don't like my skin. This all stops now, Nuncreed.
Joseph waited for a moment in silence.
You sound just like him. Who? Walt. Oh, his dad. You don't get to talk about my dad. You know, your father and I were friends back before.
He gestured toward the strange tubes.
All of this? That's a lie. It's true. I used to bounce you on my knee. What happened? Same thing that always happens. Reality, complications, life. We were a team, Walt and I. An idealistic doctor and a bright-eyed pharmacist. Both hell-bent on helping folks. So you were a sidekick? No. We were partners. He helped the patients and I helped him. Yep, total sidekick.
Nuncreed let out a growl of a sigh.
Luca, I need you to know this. I need someone to know this. One day, Sharper Valentine comes to us. Says he's got an opportunity. He'd found something he didn't quite understand. And he was willing to pay us both handsomely to help him understand it. And my dad said no. Your father and I both believed in helping people. But the thing I could never get to him to understand was, it's a lot easier to help others if you help yourself now and then. Classic sidekick into villain plotline. Walt loved being righteous, almost more than he loved his family. He was wrong about one thing, though. When he begged me not to take Valentine's offer, he said, Joseph, if a person says yes one time to Sharper Valentine, he'll make sure that keep on saying yes to him until the day he's dead and gone.
He shook his head wistfully.
Sharper's long gone, but he's still got me saying yes. Is there a point to this side sob story? Not really, no. Just an old man trying to delay what needs doing.
Nuncreed took a menacing step towards the children.
Uh-oh. I tried to keep you safe. I tried to keep you and Juniper out of this. But you forced my hand.
Luca began to laugh.
What? You really don't know? My gran isn't out of this. She's been scheming right under your nose. Juniper? Seems like she's planning on crashing the town party. She's going to disrupt the festival? Why would she?
The color drained from Nuncreed's face.
How else does she know? How does she know? Apparently, she knows a lot of things. What? Let's just say this isn't the only underground lair we busted into today. And honestly, hers is way cooler. She's got maps and explosives and bad intentions, big man.
Nuncreed grabbed Luca by the shoulders. His eyes were frantic.
You need to tell me what she's going to do right now. She doesn't understand what it is she's messing with. Tell me now. She's in danger, boy. I don't know. She had a map with a mark on the fountain in town square. The fountain? But why would...
A jolt of realization struck Mr. Nuncreed.
Who knows about the source? What the heck is a source? If she tries to destroy the source, it could catalyze and... Dear God, she's going to freeze us all. Aha! That's what the big freeze is going on about. It is the source. It does have to do with the source. Because, yeah, if she stops the source of time and all that, the timelines can't continue. Everything gets shut down and frozen. That kind of makes sense. Okay, so it has something to do with the source. Alright, we're on to something. And he's just taking off. You all need to run. Run where? Away. As far from you, away from this town as you can get. Head west and don't look back. It did not go how I expected. So... we're totally following him in, right? Totally. See you on the other side. You good? Yep. I love this town.
Chapter 8.
Oh, here we go. We're getting more.
The cold, hard truth.
Oh, is this it? Is this already at the end? Cold hard truth, or is this another fish bait ending? Or can we hit the good ending before we hit all the bad endings? I wonder. I guess we'll find out. Actually, you know what? Before we do that, it's good to take a quick break for a few minutes. I need to stretch my legs. I need to get some water, and we'll be back in a few minutes to find out what the cold hard truth is. See you all shortly. The plot thickens. All right, I'm back. It's about 8:30, 8:40. We are gonna just go till 9:30 like usual, or until we hit a huge stopping point. We'll see. I was really hoping to finish the game tonight, but this game's long. This game's really long. Like this will be a total of 8 hours right now. Double the estimated time that I was expecting to play on. It was only 4. So this might be a 3-parter. We might end up doing more, but that's okay. I'm having a great time. I really like it. It's a lot of fun. We'll go back to Power Wash Simulator and Zelda eventually. It's just, yeah, this game's a lot longer than I expected it to be. But that's okay. This is cool. This is fun. Maybe we have some answers. Let's find out. Let's see where the next hour takes us. All right.
Beck leapt up, allowing the suction to yank her into the dark. Dimness eclipsed around her like the shutter of a camera as she seemed to cover great distance in mere moments. Her only points of reference were glints of upcoming turns, which approached with frightening speed, only to carom her gracefully along. She heard the tinny, distant echoes of Rollo's glee. Once she stopped fighting against it, the ride was impossibly smooth. Then, all of a sudden, as if minutes had passed in an instant, light blazed into view. A burst of wintry air snuffed across her face, and she was flung out into the cold.
Whoa. Where are we? That was intense. Yeah. I think I might have parted with some fluids in there. Any idea where we are? Somewhere cold. Doesn't look like it got on any of us. It didn't feel like we traveled that far. So where did it all go? This place sucks. Why would anyone even want to blow something up way out here? Only one way to find out, I suppose. We gotta catch up to Nuncreed. I think he went this way. Catch up to Mr. Nuncreed. Hang on a second. This looks weirdly familiar. Like I know this from somewhere. Oh, whoops, hang on a second. My bad, I did not switch it back. It's only be right back screen, I can't see anything. Yeah, sorry, I forgot to hit the transition button to bring it back to live. Sorry about that. So travel through the pipe, we showed up here, and you should be able to see it now. My bad. Almost went through a whole pictureless commentary there. Okay, so we're here, but this place looks weirdly familiar. Like, I've been here before. Like, if this is next to... Yeah, see? There's the Beacon Pines sign. Welcome to Beacon Pines. And right here is where my house is supposed to be, but it's not here. And up here... I can see it now. Okay, good. Perfect. Yeah, I just forgot to hit the transition button, that's all. My bad. And up here, this is where, like, my dad's grave should be, but... Where are we? We're in a place, but we're not in a place? Whoa. Okay, this is starting to feel really familiar. I may not be the most well-versed on all things Beacon Pines, but this does look like some sort of frozen replica of town. Oh, I got it. It's so obvious now. Mr. Nuncreed is an alien. Rollo with the aliens again. Rollo. Stick with me here. His species can only live in sub-zero temperatures. Oh boy, here we go. The source is their base camp dimension, so naturally keep them cold. We found it by traveling through those metallic wormholes back there. The final objective, kill us all and to shapeshift into a Beacon Pines citizen of their choosing. You never really had me, but you very much lost me there. You get used to it. We should keep moving. This is very creepy.
As they rounded the corner to the frozen town square, they spotted Mr. Nuncreed inching cautiously toward a pit at its center.
Oh, is this it? Is this the end? Are we going to find out what's going on?
He held his arms out gingerly, as if approaching a beast in the wild.
We caught up Mr. Nuncreed. Let's see where this takes us.
Upon closing the distance, Luca recognized what Nuncreed was after. Gran stood confidently at the edge, one arm outstretched over the abyss. Nearby, a wheelbarrow had been emptied out. She held a lit torch, which flickered in the bitter wind.
Juniper, I don't know what you think you're doing, but I assure you this is not going to solve anything. If you drop that, you've doomed this whole town. Oh, it wasn't me who doomed this town. I've been watching you, Joseph. I know what you've done. You and your co-conspirators. Gran? What's happening? Luca, you and your friends need to leave right this moment.
Mr. Nuncreed turned back toward the kids, desperation in his eyes.
Listen to your grandma, Luca. This is between me and Juniper.
Rollo and Beck held steadfast in awe. Luca approached closer. Mr. Nuncreed spun back toward Gran, his voice growing louder.
You got it all wrong, Juniper. Just hand over that torch. You don't understand what you're doing. How can I possibly trust you to do the right thing? Walt told me everything. He trusted you, and you betrayed that trust. Luca, did you know about Luca, did you know that this man's entire life is a lie? If it weren't for him, your father might still be alive. Whoa.
Mr. Nuncreed winced with anguish. His voice hardened.
That's not true.
They both now yelled, not to each other, but at fate itself, making their peace with long-held burdens. The wind howled with encouragement.
Walt was like a brother to me. We had just had different ideas about how to affect change. Very convenient that your way just happened to line your pockets. Now that's not fair.
They menaced at each other, both catching their breath. The moment balanced on a knife's edge.
Whoa, okay.
Amid a blur of emotions and memories, Luca's mind flooded with questions. The wind calmed, as if to give him the stage.
Here we go. Only got one option. Weep. Let's see what happens.
And in the stillness, he began to weep.
Sadness.
It was all just too much. Falling to his knees, Luca whimpered softly. The tears crystallized as they hit the snow. Gran stared at Luca for a moment with warm sympathy, remembering why this was all necessary.
This all makes sense soon, Luca. Then everything can go back to normal. I promise.
She stiffened up and brandished the torch at Mr. Nuncreed.
You can't hide behind those people any longer, Joseph. Once their precious source is destroyed, we'll see where their loyalties fall. Juniper, don't.
Ignoring his final plea, Gran flung the torch into the deep darkness. She smiled and exhaled in relief. Mr. Nuncreed moaned in resignation. The torch echoed as it ricocheted down the hole, punctuated with a thunderous thud.
You see, Joseph, I've learned one very important lesson in life. If you want things to change, then you must be willing to.
Before Gran could finish, the ground shook her to silence.
And there's the Great Freeze again.
Gran only had time to spin around and run to Luca.
So that's what's causing the Great Freeze. She cannot destroy the source. The source freezes the town. Very interesting.
Her attempt to shield him, an honorable but trifling act. Unflinching love, pitted against an unthinking horror. There was no contest. Her warm embrace froze in an instant. That is where they remain, fixed in place, forever.
Whoa.
And so, our story ends on this melancholy scene. In a town brought low by its secrets, sits the frozen statues of a misguided band of meddlers. The end.
So how do we get to the good ending?
Well, that was dire. On the bright side, we finally figured out where all the ice is coming from.
Yeah, that's true. We did. We got that figured out.
Now, we just need to find a way to deal with a mystic, unfathomable force of nature.
Mm-hmm. Cool. So that's possibly the end of that path. At least for now. Seems like that's not the answer. Unfortunately, it seems like, for now at least, we're gonna have to go back to the timeline for Rollo. Yeah. Not the bad timeline. The timeline where Rollo is missing and the child is severely disfigured. So on this one, this is where we left off. On this side, we were attacked by the clipboards. We're on top of the roof of the treehouse. Disfigured little child that I almost murdered is with us, and instead of fighting, we're gonna try and flight and see what happens. Because right now we have no other endings. Let's take flight. See where this leads to.
Luca drew himself up and decided to take the only option they had left. Flight. He squinted down the barrel of the mission control defense cannon, aiming it through an opening in the dense tree branches. He looked up with surprise as it struck true and taut.
Wow, can't believe that worked. Hey, Mr. Kerr. We'd love to hear your thoughts, but I'm afraid we have places to be. Come on, Iggy. See ya, jerks. Fine. We know where that leads them. This way. We'll take the tunnels.
Luca and Iggy winced as they sprinted through the thicket. The branches clawed at them, reluctant to give passage. After what felt like a marathon, Luca stopped in his tracks as they reached the clearing. What the? That was all he was able to say before Iggy slammed into his back. The boys tumbled down a steep decline and crashed with a wheezing thud on a surface as hard as ice. In fact, it was ice.
Whoa, are we back to the source? Is that where we are now?
Chapter 5. Signs.
Okay, interesting.
They stood silently, catching their breath. The sky was like sapphire. With each breath, a plume of steam escaped from Luca's lungs. Let's keep moving. Luca pulled Iggy to his feet as they gazed across a snowy terrain.
We are back at the source. That was actually pretty badass. Uh-huh. I think we lost him. Are we up in the mountains? I don't think so. If anything, we went downhill. Then what's up with the Winter Wonderland? All I know is there's no going back the way we came. Let's see if we can get our bearings. Follow me. Find a way home. Okay, cool. Mr. Goat says you said bad word. Well, yes, I did, but it wasn't as bad as the other words we've come across. Alright, so my defense. Luca, are you there?
Luca had almost forgotten the walkie-talkie he was carrying.
That's right, Rolo. It's that bozo Kerr. I hope nothing bad has happened to you out in those woods.
Luca looked at Iggy with hesitation.
No need to be rude.
With a resigned sigh, Luca responded.
It seems like the only dangerous thing in the woods is you. He speaks, the young man of the hour. Now, how in tarnation did you end up with one of our radios? Just lucky, I guess. Boy, howdy, you Van Horns, you're full of surprises, aren't you? You knew my parents? I never had the honor of meeting your father, but your mom sure was a handful.
Luca winced, shoving the walkie-talkie back into his pocket.
We gotta keep moving. Yeah, we can't go that way. We gotta go back this way. Uh-oh. What's the readout? Is it just above 258 Kelvin? Which is actually, I think 250 Kelvin is absolute zero. Or is that 0 degrees Kelvin? I'm not sure. But in other words, very, very, very cold. That's what they're trying to say. I'm down a bit from last time. Did we report to Mr. Kerr? Meh, still within safe ranges. Maybe spreading, but it's under control for now. Even a small nudge in equilibrium could cause a cascade. Dude, relax. Just a few more sites to hit before we can punch out. Let's get this over with. What's all this? Hard to say with all the snow. I think it's the town sign. I can almost make out letters under there. What town could this even be? There couldn't be another town this deep into Weepwood. I'm looking at evidence to the contrary. Let's figure out what we're dealing with here. Step 1, snow's gotta go. Let's see what I can do. It's gonna say Beacon Pines, isn't it? Yep.
The boys stared in disbelief at the sign that now clearly read, "Welcome to Beacon Pines."
Yeah, it's exactly like the one from the beginning. Like, it's the same layout and everything else, but my house is missing. It's so is the graveyard for my dad. This doesn't make sense. We're in Beacon Pines? How's that possible? We ran away from town. How did we get back here? I guess we got turned around. Where'd all the snow come from? Well, it's colder than normal lately. There's a pretty big difference between sweater weather and this Arctic hellscape. The puddle we fought at before, it was cold too. Maybe all of it leads to one source. You think it's related? What the heck's going on? The heck's going on? We're gonna get you some answers. Let's keep moving. Yeah, see, we can't go this way, can we?
The fencing glistened, each chain link encapsulated with a translucent layer of ice.
Looks like the stuff they keep up around Weepwood. The stuff who put up? I don't know. More of those barrels over here, too. This stuff look familiar to you? Looks like the barrel near the puddle I, shoved me into, yeah. It's all frozen.
Looking down at the frozen stream, Luca could faintly see a school of minnows encased in the ice.
Whatever happened here, it happened fast. The fish didn't even have time to run. Or, you know, swim run.
The crunching of footsteps trailing Luca went hush. He looked back to see Iggy's face twisted with confusion.
Everyone's gone. What? There's nothing here but snow. More snow. There must be an explanation for all of this. We have to keep looking. You can look all you want. I quit. Iggy, we have to keep going. You don't get it, do you? It isn't one of your pathetic Hank Atomic stories. We aren't going to save the day. We aren't even going to save ourselves. My face is mangled. The town is destroyed. And everyone we've ever known is gone. We don't know that. You can't just quit. Do whatever you want. I'm done. Iggy, it's gonna be okay.
Luca peered upward at the darkening sky. He let out a long, foggy breath. Faintly, Iggy began to cry. Seeing Iggy in such a pathetic state gave Luca a sense of compassion, and more than a little guilt.
It is getting pretty late, I think. Probably not a great idea to stumble around in the dark anyway.
Luca allowed himself to collapse next to Iggy.
Let's just rest for a bit.
The boys huddled together for warmth and comfort. If not for exhaustion, their minds would be racing, trying to make sense of the events of the day. As it was, all they had energy for was to sit in silence, numb.
The way the snow covered everything over, it's kind of calming. Yeah. I haven't had time to say it, but thanks. Huh? You're getting us away from those creeps. I sort of froze up back there. Iggy, I should be the one apologizing. This all happened because I lost my temper. Nah, that's bull hockey. First of all, you didn't know what that gunk would do. You didn't, right? Of course not. And second, stop with this baloney about losing your temper. But I did lose my temper.
Iggy motioned sarcastically to his half-deformed face.
Obviously. Well, that's exactly what you should have done. Huh? I was being a horse's butt. You were supposed to be a horse's butt in response. That's how it works. Iggy, I'm having a hard time following. You wanted me to fight you? Of course. Jeez, you goody types take forever to understand this very basic point. Why would you go around saying cruel things trying to get into fights?
Iggy shrugged.
It's something to do. You're a very bad word. Do not repeat that. Because you're bored? So you're a meanie because you're bored? Sometimes I just feel empty. You wouldn't understand. You and Rollo are always having a blast together. Laughing and calling that dinky little treehouse mission control.
Iggy now wept openly.
Perfect little Luca Van Horn. With his perfect little laugh. My life is not perfect. Everybody in town likes you. Not everybody. Heck, that new girl isn't even unpacked yet. Even she already likes you. You have Tish.
He wiped his nose with a sleeve.
I love Tish. Tish is great. But she ain't exactly the world's greatest conversationalist, you know?
Luca gave a warm chuckle.
I get that impression.
Iggy cleared his throat as he wiped his eyes.
Huh. It must be raining out here. Definitely.
Iggy arched into a wide yawn.
We should probably try to get some sleep. Yeah. Let's lay low for now. Tomorrow we'll get to the bottom of all this.
Luca's eyelids began to slowly drift shut.
Except if you freeze to death because it's freezing cold out there. Luca? Yeah? I always did want to see the inside of your dinky little treehouse. What do you think? Not bad. I'll give you the full tour when I get back. You know what?
That's all Luca could whisper before succumbing to sleep. Iggy snuggled in some more.
When it comes to worst days of my entire life, this one wasn't half bad.
The house smelled of warm bread.
This game's intense. Intense! Another dream? Another dream.
Luca was playing with toy blocks on the living room rug. He looked up to see his parents on the couch. His mother held his father's head in her lap. She idly stroked his hair while humming a song. A voice behind Luca spoke. "This is how you remember them, huh?" Luca turned to see his own face. The doppelganger from his dreams, still clad in a yellow hazmat suit, still carrying a look of disdain behind empty eyes. Aww, look at this perfectly cozy scene. You know it wasn't really like this. The figure picked up a toy block and inspected it. It's amazing the facades that one can build given the right materials. Not that I blame us. These are a child's memories, all warm and fuzzy. You don't remember, do you?
Lucas snatched the block from the figure's yellow-gloved hand. Remember what?
The doppelganger pointed to the couch. The last day we saw him alive. The day he chose to abandon us. Luca turned to look at his father, still lounging on the couch. That's not true. He didn't abandon us. The doppelganger waved his hand dismissively. Everything is true here. It's just a matter of what we choose to see.
What does that mean?
Let me show you. The world flickered and pulsed. Luca was sitting next to his bed, listening to his heartbeat with one of his dad's stethoscopes. The doppelganger limped into the room. Now, we both know that's not how this went. He grabbed Luca's hand and guided the stethoscope to the floor. Luca heard muffled shouting, brought close by the stethoscope. It was his parents, fighting. Do you remember what we did next? Luca gave a slow nod and crept down the hall to peek through the banister. He could see the outline of his mother at the bottom of the stairs. Damn it, Walt. We can't afford to get involved in this. She was scared. His father stepped forward. What am I supposed to do? Just watch?
There's a sickness in this town, and we both know who's behind it. I swore an oath to help people. I won't turn my back on them.
Luca's mother grabbed Walt. She was crying, pleading. I can't lose you. Walt calmly removed Eleanor's hand from his shoulder.
What's right is right, and what's wrong is wrong. I could never live with myself if I let Sharper get away with this. Eleanor raised her voice. Spare me your bullshit platitudes. What about our son?
Get that bad. That was a bad word in there. I didn't say it. The narrator said, do not repeat that word. Bad words.
Luca flinched, dropping the stethoscope down the stairs. Walt turned with a panicked smile. Luca, is that you, buddy?
This is intense. Like, man, I'm just like so focused in. This is crazy.
With tears in his eyes, Luca descended the stairs. Mom? Dad? What's going on? Walt dropped to a knee to meet Luca eye to eye. Nothing, buckaroo. Your mom and I just got a little overexcited is all. Luca placed the stethoscope against his father's chest. His heart was racing. It sounded like you were going somewhere? Walt gently removed the device from Luca's ears. Listen to me, Luca. I have some business to take care of. I'll be back in time to tuck you in. Luca hugged his father tightly. Promise? Walt stood up and walked to the door. He glanced over his shoulder. I promise. With a wink and a grin, he put on his hat and strode out into the evening sun.
What? That can't be
A
right,
figure
right?
approached soundlessly from the foggy snowfall.
That can't be right. It can't end like this. It can't end like that. That's not how it happens. This is bad.
It stood above them, lingering in contemplation. Slowly raising one hand above Iggy, it snapped out 2 brisk raps on his head. From a deep slumber, Iggy sprang up defensively.
Get your hands off me.
Whether it was the calming presence or the recognition that he was not in danger, Iggy felt his clenched fists lower.
Just what do you think you're doing?
Luca looked up, gradually remembering his whereabouts. The figure exhaled a cloud of warm vapor.
You two certainly have caused a lot of commotion. What's that supposed to mean? Take it easy, Iggy. We were asleep minding our own business. You're the one running around knocking on people's heads. I'm sorry if I hurt you, Iggy. You didn't hurt nobody. Anybody. Huh? Oh, I see. You think you're better than me. You...
When it came to complete strangers, Iggy had trouble cobbling together an insult.
You big-headed... Scarfy-necked... Birdball? Mm-hmm. Okay, let's lower the temperature a bit here. Interesting choice of words. I mean, let's all just calm down. Who are you? A friend. An observer. A hitchhiker on the infinite expanse of possibility. Great. How about a name? If you must call me something, you can call me Nat.
Iggy huffed with gratification.
How about you make like a gnat and buzz off? Very well.
Nat began to turn away indifferently.
Wait. Do you live here? You might say that. So you know where we are? You might also say that. Look, pal, we just want to find a safe way out of here. You gonna help us or not? Before knowing how to leave, one must know where they are. Alright, that does it. Luca, I don't know about you, but I'm getting out of here one way or another.
Iggy turned sharply and began to stomp off.
Enough with the riddles. Iggy, wait up.
Realizing he'd worn their patience thin, Nat relented.
Very well, I suppose this isn't the time for metaphors. I'll show you how to get back home.
Luca and Iggy turned around with hope in their eyes.
Come here.
Nat took a deep breath in.
Close your eyes.
Nat exhaled slowly, then snapped his fingers.
Okay, open them.
For a brief moment, Luca and Iggy let themselves believe that some great magic was about to unfold. Until they opened their eyes and found themselves in the exact same place. Cold and disheartened.
I thought it was going to be some weird magic too, just to be fair. This is your home. This is Beacon Pines. Look, Nat, we don't know how we got here. Maybe we stumbled through some time travel gate in Weepwood. Or we teleported to some alternate universe. Or this is all just some cruel experiment by Kerr and his goons. But this is not our home. You're inching closer to the truth. Alas, the reality is much less fanciful. Just give it to us straight. So be it. As I said, this is Beacon Pines. What? The original, true Beacon Pines. What? 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 So, but if... What? Like, it makes sense now. This is this is called the source. Because, like, obviously it's the source of whatever, but, like, the source of Beacon Pines. But how is this the original? I'm so confused. I mean, that's a great twist, but, like, what? So how did they get here? What's the non-original Beacon Pines, the one they thought they grew up in, they thought they lived in? I'm so confused. Yeah, okay, let's just keep going. I don't know. This is crazy. You both grew up here, but the town you've called your home for the past several years is a replica. A remarkable achievement of engineering, to be fair, but a replica nonetheless. That's possible. It's too much work. You need a whole town to replicate a whole town. Indeed. To pull off such a feat would require immense labor power. To that which could be moved, would be moved. That which could not would require a precise duplicate. We would have noticed. Someone would have noticed. You'd think so, unless the auditing was impeccable. A mind-numbing attention to detail. As for the innumerable trivialities which complete the tapestry, well, you can leave that to this miraculous thing we call a brain. It has a real aversion to discontinuity, a revulsion even. The brain has a wonderful way of smoothing out the rough edges, keeping us sane. Luca and Iggy looked around uncomfortably. So you're saying that someone made an entire new town and moved us all and no one noticed? Precisely. Okay, what? How was that even possible? Like, I don't... So this, the quote-unquote, the source, is the original Beacon Pines, but in the Beacon Pines everyone lives in, is a replica, and somehow it's attached by a tube, but they can also get to it from jumping down from the treehouse? I am so confused. This is just wow. But why? Why is the one question that can never be answered with certainty. The best one can do is uncover.
Nat narrowed his eyes, furrowed his brow, and uttered,
The source. Why'd you say the source like that? Why indeed?
Luca began to laugh uncomfortably.
It's all ridiculous. There's no way they could.
He looked down at his feet. His eyes started back and forth in contemplation. With a sudden pain, a thought struck him.
If this really is home,
He sprinted off into the pale distance.
yeah. So if like if this really is the source, like it does look just like Beacon Pines, like yeah, where's his house? Where's his dad's grave? If it's exactly the same.
As Iggy turned to follow, Nat called out,
Iggy, it's not too late to turn back. Simple head west through Weepwood. Well, like yeah, if that's how it is, like
Chapter 6.
where's his house? Where's the house? Like, if this is the true source, if this is the beginning, if this is the source, I guess, for lack of a better term, this is the true town. Why is there no access to the treehouse? Why is there no grave for Luca's dad? Where is Luca's house? Like, do they live somewhere else? Like, it's insane. The insanity of a twist like that is just insane. Mr. Goat says the water messes with your mind. Yeah, it does seem to tie back to the water because they went through the whole decontamination process thing, right? And whatnot. So like they had the giant decontamination thing. They had the whole, and they're like, oh, we're gonna shut down the city for a few days and move you. Whoa, that was it, wasn't it? Because I found the articles for people who had died 3 towns over, right? And they're like, how's that possible? How is it possible for someone to die 3 towns over? But it's not, someone passed by 3 towns over, but it's the same name. So like it's his grandma's steel identities. Like, and where's the house? Why isn't there a house there? Why isn't the treehouse there? Why there are continuity differences? And is that what the big freeze is? Like it continues from the source to throw the copy out of whack too, because the source is out of whack? I have way too many questions. And we're on chapter 6. And at this point, I've only got about 7 minutes left of my regular stream time, so like this game is insane. We're gonna cut it off here for the night because my brain is fried and like trying to wrap my hand around this reveal. We'll come back to it next week and hopefully wrap it up. But yeah, this is definitely not a 4-hour game. This is a very, very long game. We'll see how this continues. But we've hit the giant twist in the game, which is just absolutely insane. And it's like, I still have so many questions, but it's starting to make some more sense. Like, if this is the original town, then they would have been moved, what, like three towns over, apparently, according to the record books. Some people may have died. What happened to their dad, to Luca's dad? And then the bad harvest, right? The foul harvest, the dark harvest, whatever they call it. Was that part of moving from the source? Is that why they call it the source? Because it's the source of the town? And they just like clear a pile of wood. Like, what about anyone else though who knew what Beacon Pines was? Who had been to Beacon Pines? Who knew it existed? Like, how do you account for that? Like, oh, it's just magically moved like 3 towns over. Like, it. Maybe it is. Maybe it is aliens and wormholes. Maybe Rolo was right. Maybe it is like messed up time travel, alternate dimensions type things. But like, it is so weird. It is so screwy. It messes with my head so much. But like, that is a huge twist. I greatly appreciate it. I did not see that coming, and like, I was very surprised, and I'm very, very impressed. So, man, this is such a great game. We're gonna play some more next week. We've gone 8 hours in this game so far. It was estimated to me at 4, but like, I am reading it. I'm taking my time. I'm exploring. So like, but this is a game is a lot of fun. And fingers crossed. I've said this before, but fingers crossed. Next week, we can finish the game. We just hit the huge twist. So like, that's gonna be a great, great, great place to end it right now. And it's just, that's an insane twist, and I'm like, my mind is blown. Like, that's so good. But we're gonna have to wait till next week to get answers. So thank you everyone for joining me tonight. Everyone on YouTube, checking out this VOD. We're gonna be back next Sunday in November. Hard to believe it's already November. Like, holy man, people, the time goes by so fast. Tomorrow night is October 31st, Halloween. Everyone out there trick-or-treating, stay safe, get candy, be visible, don't get run over, don't get too cold. Most importantly, stay safe. Listen to your parents. Be good. Enjoy your candy. And have a great, great, fantastic Halloween. And I will see you guys all next week. We'll come back next Sunday and solve more of this mystery because my brain hurts. But thank you all. Have a great Halloween. Have a great night. And we'll see you back here next week. Same time. Same bat time, same bat channel, as they used to say back in the day. But happy Halloween. I wish everyone the best. We'll see you next week. Good night, everyone.